Chapter 1652, Sword Precipice. Sword Mountain was situated in a mountain range not far from Goldfire Tower. It had existed for many, many years, and with this time, they've accumulated enough cultivators and resources to destroy entire territories. They had many ancient scriptures for sword cultivators to study, as well as ancient sword techniques and skills. At the top of one of these mountains, which looked to have been cut by a sword, there were many sword cultivators practicing cultivation. There were men and women, young and old. Many of them were disciples, but there were also foreigners who had come to study sword cultivation. That mountain had been cut by a sword, and it seemed like the energy from that sword would never leave the mountain. Even thought the sword energy didn't contain any immortal strength, the pure sword energy didn't disperse. In the past, 2 ancestors destroyed 19 of these mountains, leaving them as a testament to their strength. I can only imagine what kind of battle that was, said a young man. In the air, Lin Feng was flying slowly and landed on a mountain. The sword energies from that mountain instantly surrounded him, but the most intriguing part was that the energy was very familiar, Wu Tian's energy. Emperor Wu Tianjian must have fought someone here, thought Lin Feng. The other sword energy present wasn't any weaker than Emperor Wu Tianjian's sword energy. Actually, it was the opposite, it was even stronger than Emperor Wu Tianjian's sword energy. Maybe this is where Emperor Wu Tianjian was injured, thought Lin Feng. He didn't know how that battle ended from just the energies here, so maybe he could ask around. Lin Feng looked around, seeing many people seated cross-legged, studying the sword energies. Some of them were in the sky, while some were on the broken mountains. Lin Feng jumped forwards and after looking around, arriving in front of a young person who was seated before sheer precipices and overhanging rocks. Lin Feng asked, "Your Excellency, do you know who the 2 fighters were and how the battle ended?" The young man suddenly opened his eyes after Lin Feng spoke. "Piss off," he spat out sword energies at Lin Feng, tearing his clothes apart. Slash, slash. Suddenly, Lin Feng released his own sword energies, which formed something looking like a river of sword lights. What a powerful sword cultivator, thought the young man. Lin Feng jumped forwards, pushing back that guy's sword energies. His facial expression changed drastically after seeing Lin Feng's energies. He was a powerful sword cultivator who could easily kill cultivators of the 9th Zun Qi layer, and surprisingly, he was the one being oppressed. Lin Feng took another step forward, although it was only a small one, it felt like a heavy hammer had fallen on his opponent. He groaned coldly, and his face turned pale. "Your Excellency, please stop," shouted that cultivator. However, Lin Feng took another step forward, this time releasing earth energy. His interlocutor couldn't even move his legs anymore, he was shaking and was deathly pale. Finally, the young man couldn't release any more energies, and was suddenly propelled away, crashing onto a mountain. Lin Feng glanced at the young man in a sharp way. "Answer me," said Lin Feng. The young man's face looked deathly pale as he was worried for his life. But then a strong wind started blowing and moved towards Lin Feng. 3 sword cultivators appeared and surrounded Lin Feng. They said nothing, they just stood there. Lin Feng condensed a sword, a heavy sword which was larger than most ordinary swords. At the same time, the 3 cultivators unsheathed their swords from their backs, each of them carrying a silvery glint. All the disciples from Sword Mountain receive ordinary silver swords, but once they reach the rank of intern, they receive imperial cyan swords. These guys only unsheathed their silver swords because they were fighting 3 against 1. "Attack," shouted one of them, though they all attacked at the same time. Their sword lights turned into a web which surrounded Lin Feng like a cage. Lin Feng moved like the wind while condensing more heavy sword energies. Quickly, he destroyed the sword web and moved towards one of them at full speed. What a powerful sword attack! He's an excellent sword fighter, thought Lin Feng's enemies. Lin Feng landed in front of one of them and 9 sword lights surrounded him. Those swords' lights were intertwining and turning into a sword-like curtain. The 2 others landed behind Lin Feng, with more silver sword lights threatening him. Sword Mountain's disciples are very strong, but that guy is too strong. An ordinary cultivator would have died instantly, thought the crowd. The 4 fighters were extremely fast. However, death was something that could happen quickly. Whoosh! Lin Feng jumped forwards, the energies around him were as heavy as mountains. Break! After weighing them down, Lin Feng attacked them with both force and sword energies. 2 silver lights broke apart and their casters were propelled backwards. Lin Feng continued running forwards. Then, Lin Feng rotated as he threw his sword from his right hand downward, the sword now looking like a shooting star as it assaulted someone else. The disciples from Sword Mountain were looking pale. No matter what they did, they couldn't defeat Lin Feng. Bang! That cultivator fell into the valley, bleeding profusely. The other 2 looked furious as they released their spirits, which were both gigantic swords. Attack! The 2 cultivators shouted furiously. Their sword spirits moved at the same time, one containing wind abstruse energies, while the other one contained golden energy. Their sword attacks are terrifying, thought Lin Feng when he saw the one which was using the wind. At the same time, he raised his hands and his earth sword flew ahead of him, forming a curtain of energies in front of him. Lin Feng condensed more sword energies and pushed forwards, creating a hole in the gigantic wind sword. Then the 2 gigantic swords were both pushed backwards, their cultivators both coughing up blood while being propelled backwards. At the same time, their sword energies progressively dispersed. That sword cultivator is too strong, even his attacks were similar to the leader's, thought the crowd. At least, Sword Mountain's disciples couldn't defeat him. At that moment, a terrifyingly sharp sword chi invaded the mountains. The few Sword Mountain's disciples who were fighting grabbed the cyan swords on their backs, unsheathing their imperial swords. If you decide to fully unsheath those swords, I won't be merciful, and I'll kill you quickly, said Lin Feng, glancing at them. The opponents looked petrified. Lin Feng had been merciful so far. Chapter 1653, Wuxia the Emperor, who are you, Your Excellency? Asked one of the disciples. Finally, they decided not to unsheath their swords. Lin Feng had been merciful so far in not killing them, after all. Lin Feng, I am going to have a walk in Sword Mountain, said Lin Feng. Did you come for the Great Sword Test? Someone asked. Great Sword Test. Lin Feng didn't know what it was. He shook his head and said, No, I want to know to who those 2 threads of sword energies belong to. You really don't know? Asked the disciple. Everybody who came to study those energies knew who they belonged. Would I ask if I knew? Said Lin Feng in a cold way, starting to get agitated from asking the same question repeatedly. A long time ago, an unknown sword cultivator fought against the leader of Sword Mountain, Emperor Tai Jian, the first disciple of the old leader, said the disciple. That wasn't a secret, everybody knew about that battle which had taken place thousands of years before. Emperor Tai Jian's sword weighed several tons, but even then, it was a close match between him and the unknown sword cultivator. Finally, he managed to injure the unknown sword cultivator, but Emperor Tai Jian had also been injured. It took him hundreds of years to recover, and after that, he had continued practicing cultivation until he became a great emperor. Emperor Tai Jian, the leader of Sword Mountain, thought Lin Feng. Emperor Wu Tianjian had fought against the leader of Sword Mountain. How did the battle end? Asked Lin Feng. Our leader won. Even though his opponent was very strong, he was too injured. After the battle, our leader became a great emperor and became the patriarch of Sword Mountain, said the disciple. Of course, he didn't mention how badly their leader had been injured back then. Why did they fight? Asked Lin Feng. Emperor Tai Jian couldn't have fought against Emperor Wu Tianjian for no reason. The disciple remained silent and after a few seconds, he said coldly, You defeated me, and I replied to many of questions already, but now you're going too far. There were many legends about that battle, but some small things could influence their patriarch's reputation. Therefore, they couldn't say everything. Besides, it was difficult to know everything precisely. The battle had happened thousands of years before after all. Only the protagonists could tell what had happened. "What's wrong?" said someone in the distance. A few people from Sword Mountain had arrived. Lin Feng turned around and the person who arrived said in a cold way, "You?" "Lu Yao." That was the young man Lin Feng had met in Xixiang City. Back then, Lu Yao was only interested in Lin Shui, but Lin Shui liked Wuxia. "Brother Lu Yao," said the few disciples. Lu Yao nodded and said in a cold way, "You dare attack my disciples in our territory?" Lin Feng smiled when he heard Lu Yao trying to accuse him of something. "Lu Yao, show me the way. I need to go to the main mountain of Sword Mountain." "Huh?" Lu Yao was surprised. Lin Feng was giving him orders. "Don't you know that you're only at the foot of Sword Mountain?" asked Lu Yao mockingly. "How noisy." Lin Feng shook his hands and a sword talisman appeared. Then he threw it in the air and said, "Bring me to the top of Sword Mountain." Lu Yao caught the talisman and frowned. Why did Lin Feng have the talisman of Sword Mountain? "Who gave you that talisman?" asked Lu Yao. Slash. Terrifying sword lights appeared in the sky. This time Lin Feng was using his desolate Xana sword attack. Lu Yao's facial expression changed drastically. He didn't hesitate and moved backwards. Even then, his sleeve was torn apart, and a wound appeared on his wrist. "I'll say it just one last time, give me back my talisman and bring me to the top of Sword Mountain," said Lin Feng coldly. Lu Yao came back to his senses. Only the elders of the sect had these talismans, so even if Lin Feng killed him, nobody would care. How come Lin Feng had the talisman from their sect though? Lu Yao gave the talisman back to Lin Feng and started walking. Lin Feng looked at him coldly and said, "You don't know how to differentiate good from bad. Now, hurry up." Lu Yao was furious, but he had no choice but to lead the way. He began to pick up the pace. They soon approached a gigantic mountain, suspended in the air, Sword Mountain. Many people appeared along the way and they all had a very sharp chi. "Lu Yao, have you become a mountain guide?" Lin Feng asked mockingly. Lu Yao was annoyed and replied in a cold way, "No. I haven't seen you in a while, but you still haven't progressed." "I thought you had become a tour guide because of that," said Lin Feng as he laughed boisterously. "How's Wuxia doing? Has he come out yet?" asked Lin Feng. "He came out," replied Lu Yao. Although he had to respond because of the talisman, he kept the conversation to a minimum. "You mean he's broken through to the Huang Qi layer already?" asked Lin Feng happily. Finally, a disciple of Tiantai had become an emperor. "Indeed," replied Lu Yao. Lin Feng was extremely happy and was smiling. Lu Yao looked upset. Indeed, Wuxia had broken through to the Huang Qi layer while he wasn't having a great time. After all, Lu Yao and Wuxia belonged to the same generation. However, he quickly forgot about this after he saw how fast Lin Feng was. He struggled to catch up with him. At the top of the mountain, Wuxia was welcoming guests. The Great Sword Test was going to start 3 days later, so many people came to visit, including public figures. "Wuxia," said Lin Feng. Wuxia glanced around and saw Lin Feng, then he smiled. "Lin Feng, you're here." "Indeed, your chi is different, as expected," said Lin Feng as he looked at Wuxia. "Don't make fun of me. When I came out, the elders mentioned you, saying that you had won the weapon tournament. If our teachers had seen you, they'd be so happy," said Wuxia smiling. "Indeed, I wonder how they are," said Lin Feng nostalgically. "I also wonder how our fellow disciples are these days. Maybe they have all broken through to the Huang Qi layer, if not then it's only a matter of time." Chapter 1654, Sword Mountain's events. When we first came to the Great World, 2 of our disciples were already cultivators at the very top of the Zun Qi layer, and with their abilities, I wouldn't be surprised if they had already broken through to the Huang Qi layer. Wuxia said. I think so too, and maybe Tian Qi has broken through to the Huang Qi layer as well, said Lin Feng cheerfully. After all, they had been in the Great World for 7 years already. It was a long time, and anything could happen there. Lin Feng had spent so much time studying deployment spells, and even then, he was only one step away from breaking through to the Huang Qi layer as well. His cultivation was more complex than his fellow disciples, and on top of that, his cultivation level had always been lower. Lin Feng, the continent of the 9 clouds is vast, so it will be very difficult to find everyone else. Therefore, we should continue practicing cultivation with the goal of one day making Tiantai a reality in this large world. Then, our friends and teachers will find us easily, said Wuxia. Definitely, said Lin Feng while nodding. Wuxia, is that your friend? Asked a middle-aged man who was looking at Lin Feng. Indeed, he's one of my fellow disciples from the small world, said Wuxia nodding. Lin Feng, that's Master Yunyao, he often teaches me things here. Hello Master Yunyao, I'm Lin Feng, said Lin Feng, nodding and smiling. Yunyao looked at Lin Feng and whispered, Lin Feng, are you Lin Feng from Goldfire City? Said Yunyao suddenly. I spent some time there, said Lin Feng nodding. Even strong cultivators from Sword Mountain now recognized him. The rumors are true, you're only a Zun cultivator, yet you can kill emperors, and you're so young. On top of that, you're also friends with Wuxia, how interesting, said Yunyao enthusiastically. He had heard a lot about Lin Feng, so he was immediately curious. Besides, Wuxia was already very talented, so Yunyao was curious to see how strong Lin Feng was. Wuxia was very strong, even compared to most of the disciples of Sword Mountain. And now, his disciple, a Zun cultivator, could kill emperors. Make yourself at home, little Feng, said Yunyao. He called Lin Feng, little Feng, as if they were close. Lin Feng was delighted. Please, come and have a seat. Let's have some food and drinks, you're a guest of honor after all, said Wuxia. Lin Feng followed and soon they arrived in a big hall where many people had gathered. Some people were seated, others were chatting or relaxing. But through all this, Lin Feng sensed that someone was looking at him in a cold way. The Yen clan. Lin Feng glanced around and noticed some people from the tournament, they were probably high officials. The Great Sword Test was going to start soon and those people from the Yen clan were probably guests of honors. Long time no see, I trust you have been doing well since we last met, said a few people from the Yen clan to Lin Feng. They were very polite, which was surprising given the circumstances. I'm good for I'm still alive, said Lin Feng mockingly. He knew those people wanted to kill him. He had killed Yen Feng, which was a humiliation for them. Cosmic energies condensed. Suddenly, Lin Feng sensed that the temperature was rising to an unpleasant degree. The people around them sensed the heat and looked at Lin Feng, noticing how unhappy he looked. Then suddenly the ground between the members of the Yen clan broke apart. The members of the Yen clan jumped away, and a deep pit formed where they were standing just before. The crowd was surprised to see that some people were fighting there, especially seeing how Sword Mountain was hosting. The elders of Sword Mountain glanced at the members of the Yen clan, which made the Yen clan look upset after they noticed. They turned to Lin Feng and said, how audacious, you dare cause trouble here. You even destroyed the ground. You were standing there and I wasn't, why try to accuse me, said Lin Feng, expressionlessly. Why would we break the ground under our own feet? Why would I break the ground under your feet, asked Lin Feng. You, the members of the Yen clan couldn't admit that they had attacked Lin Feng first. How can I know you don't harbor evil intentions, asked one of the cultivators from the Yen clan. Since you won't speak the truth, I will. The reason why I destroyed the ground was because someone attacked me with fire cosmic energies and I had to protect myself, said Lin Feng. Of course, I did damage the ground. This was my mistake, so I can leave if Sword Mountain doesn't want me here. Is that true? Asked an elder to Yao Yun who was standing not too far from Lin Feng. Master, Lin Feng is saying the truth. The Yen clan attacked first, said Yun Yao nodding. Not only this, but the members of the Yen clan are a lot stronger than Lin Feng, so if Lin Feng hadn't reacted, he would have died. Please forgive him. How many clans are there in Goldfire City who are as strong as the Yen clan? Asked the elder to Yun Yao. 2 in the northern part of Goldfire City, and many more in the other parts of the city. 12 if you consider the whole city, said Yun Yao calmly. When you have time, try to find a clan with whom we can work with in the future, said the elder indifferently. Suddenly, the members of the Yen clan turned upset, saying, Please forgive us, master. The Yen clan disappointed us already, and we don't want to see such things happen again, said the elder from Sword Mountain. Lin Feng, said the elder cheerfully, I've heard that you're Wuxia's fellow disciple. Sword Mountain is extremely happy to have you here, you can stay as long as you wish. Many people looked at Lin Feng when they heard the elder, they were wondering who that young man was. He was so young, but Sword Mountain gave him face, the elder had even humiliated the Yen clan because of him. It wasn't as simple as it looked though. Sword Mountain wanted to find another partner because the Yen clan had become too weak. Lin Feng was Wuxia's friend and he was starting to become famous, so it was a good idea to get closer to him. Zun cultivator who could kill emperors were extremely rare after all. Lin Feng, come and meet some of the elders, said Yun Yao. Very quickly, many people learned who Lin Feng was. After that, everybody ignored the Yen clan. Lin Feng didn't spend too much time in the hall. He wanted to walk around with Wuxia and visit the region. There were many historical remains filled with sword energies that Lin Feng wanted to search. 3 days later, the Great Sword Test was starting in a valley. Many groups of influence were present, including disciples from Sword Mountain. The Great Sword Test was an event where disciples from Sword Mountain exchanged their views on cultivation. Wuxia had just broken through to the Huangqi layer, so he couldn't participate. Instead, he just sat with Lin Feng. There are all sorts of disciples in Sword Mountain who practice different sorts of techniques and skills, including many who I've never seen before, thought Lin Feng. He had been watching for 2 hours already, and even though many of these disciples couldn't compete with him, he could still learn a lot by watching their sword techniques. Chapter 1655, Cutting Off an Arm. Wuxia, you've studied sword ancient scriptures in Sword Mountain, right? Lin Feng asked as they were observing the battles in the valley. Indeed. I studied many ancient scriptures in the valley, very powerful ones too. I studied some which are good for my speed cosmic energies, but I didn't manage to make my decay energy turn into cosmic energy though. Even if I continued studying decay energy, I don't think I'll be able to find any decay ancient scriptures. Wuxia explained while nodding. He had broken through to the Huangqi layer relying on speed cosmic energies. Decay strength is rare and enigmatic. It's normal that you didn't manage to make it become cosmic energy yet, but I'm sure you will though. Now that you're an emperor, you will only become stronger, said Lin Feng. You understand more kinds of energies than me, it will be very difficult for you to make them all turn into cosmic energies. You'll also need some ancient scriptures to help you improve your cosmic energies. Lin Feng, you must make the right choices in the future, said Wuxia. With the proper skills, leveling up was easier. Lin Feng had studied demon ancient scriptures, therefore, he'd need to rely on demon strength to break through to the Huangqi layer. I understand, said Lin Feng nodding. He needed to think about it properly, but the 3 live scriptures were very powerful. Time passed, and a few more people had fought. Lin Feng had noted some magnificent sword techniques, as well as some outstanding sword cultivators. If I hadn't broken through to the Huangqi layer, I would have participated in the Great Sword Test, but even then, I wouldn't have ranked first or second, maybe the top 5 though, whispered Wuxia. It didn't mean he wasn't as talented, it was just that some of them had practiced sword techniques longer than him and with better resources. The test ended, and the one who won wore a helmet with a feather crest. His main technique was the 9 Suns sword technique. The second one was amazing too. He practiced the same technique as the leader of Sword Mountain. He used a gigantic iron sword. Although he was very young, he still looked mature. Lu Yao ranked 5th, which wasn't bad. His sword technique was unique in that appeared almost invisible when he attacked. All the disciples were great. That was a beautiful show. Many people who don't belong to the sect are here, so if someone wants to give it a try, they can. Even emperors can give it a try, but you're only allowed to use sword techniques, and you must restrain your cultivation level, said the elder, standing up and smiling. Lin Feng had only observed, but he knew the participants were nervous. For them, that test was important because it was a way to prove to the elders of Sword Mountain that they were capable. Can I challenge anyone? Asked someone at that moment, standing up. Indeed, you can challenge anyone, said the elder smiling. Many people jumped into the valley and started fighting disciples from Sword Mountain. Some of them won, some others lost. Some very strong young people had come from far away to see the competition because they were fascinated by swords. However, nobody managed to defeat the champions. At that moment, Lu Yao had just defeated a strong cultivator and was smiling at Lin Feng. Lin Feng, you won against some of my disciples last time, and you're a strong sword cultivator. Why don't you come and show us how good you are at sword cultivation? Lu Yao didn't really know how strong Lin Feng was. He didn't even know that Lin Feng had killed an emperor in Goldfire City either. Those who knew about that were primarily the emperors in Sword Mountain. Even without this knowledge, Lu Yao still didn't underestimate Lin Feng. He had met Lin Feng a few times, and he really wanted to fight him. Fighting against him during the Great Sword Test was a safe way to see how strong Lin Feng really was because Lin Feng couldn't kill him. Lin Feng knew what Lu Yao was thinking, so he smiled. Many people were looking at Lin Feng, including the elder who smiled and said, Lin Feng, you also practice sword cultivation. I just taught myself a few things, I'm only a beginner, replied Lin Feng, smiling. Go and have a try then, maybe I can learn something from you, said the elder jokingly. Lu Yao was astonished. The great elder was making jokes with Lin Feng. Lu Yao didn't know what to think, but Lin Feng stood up and said, all right, let's have a try then. Then, he landed in the valley in front of Lu Yao. Lu Yao unsheathed a silver sword and asked Lin Feng, where's your sword? Lin Feng took out an ordinary sword, which actually looked fake as it waved about. Lin Feng bent his sword and said smiling, I know when to unsheath a sword. You, Lu Yao looked furious. Lin Feng was obviously making fun of him. He immediately released sword chi towards Lin Feng. Then he disappeared with his sword, reappearing closer to Lin Feng. Lin Feng was surprised to see such a nice technique. Lin Feng moved like the wind and dodged the incoming attack. Slash. Lu Yao slashed forward, destroying the wind energies. Lin Feng moved like a leaf in the wind. He was both agile and flexible. He appeared in the sky and dodged Lu Yao's attacks again. Lu Yao was furious. He continued moving like an illusion as he chased Lin Feng. Terrifying energies condensed as his silver sword moved towards Lin Feng. Lin Feng suddenly stopped. He fixedly stared at the wind sword while remaining motionless. He looked particularly calm as he firmly held his soft sword. Lin Feng was using this quickly fleeting moment to study the attack. Finally, when the attack got too close, an explosion sounded as an explosive chi appeared, assaulting the illusional sword attack. Lu Yao couldn't condense his energies at that point, so Lin Feng took the opportunity to attack 3 times. The first was an explosive wind sword, the second one was a protective slash, and the third one was difficult to describe as it moved towards Lu Yao. Lin Feng's attacks were extremely fast. A horrible shriek sounded, and Lu Yao moved backwards. Blood splashed, and his sword energies dispersed. The crowd looked at Lu Yao's arm. It had been cut off. Your sword techniques are not bad, said Lin Feng, smiling. Lin Feng, what sword technique is that? The elder asked. He didn't recognize it, but he could tell that it went from looking ordinary at the beginning and becoming explosive at the end. I just condensed some abstruse energies, that's all, replied Lin Feng. The elder was surprised and smiled. I see, when a cultivator is strong, his techniques are powerful. Chapter 1656, Emperor Wu Tianjian's sword intent. I really don't deserve so much praise, master, said Lin Feng, smiling and nodding. Then, he looked at the one who had ranked second and asked, Your Excellency, would you like to try? The young man glanced at Lin Feng and moved towards him. I do. Lin Feng had just used one technique to defeat Lu Yao, even making it look easy. However, he had released so much energy at once, which he knew wasn't that easy to do, so the second-placed guy wanted to see how strong Lin Feng really was. Lu Yao was still bleeding, and everybody was looking at him in a disdainful way. He had ranked fifth and he still had lost an arm. The young man with the iron sword suddenly released force which rose to the skies, his energies quickly became oppressive. The battle stage was immediately cut into as the young man with the iron sword ran towards Lin Feng, marks appearing around his iron sword. Then he suddenly jumped in the air, falling down like a mountain onto Lin Feng. He also understands earth abstruse energy. I see, thought Lin Feng. He raised his hands while condensing earth energies into a sword. He jumped ahead, and a gigantic sword appeared at the same time. It collided with the iron sword, leaving Lin Feng's tingling with numbness. The young man raised his iron sword again and attacked a few more times, each time leaving Lin Feng with the feeling that a mountain was falling on him. How strong, thought the crowd. The Sword King's scriptures are some of the most powerful scriptures in Sword Mountain, and the leader personally transmits them to his disciples. The leader wouldn't be disappointed to his disciple now, said the elder. Those attacks look like Yuan phase attacks, but are more powerful. Also, it's difficult to dodge them due to their oppressiveness, thought Lin Feng. Lin Feng raised his head, and his sword intent seemingly changed, looking harder and sharper. He turned into a light as he moved with the wind. This time he used his wind and thunder attack, Nirvana Sunya destruction and his desolate Ksana. The iron sword was pushed back, and a gigantic hole appeared in his energies. However, from that hole, a new sword appeared which had wind and iron energies fused together. With that sword, a dazzling light appeared in front of Lin Feng. What a terrifying strength, earth abstruse energy, but it's practically cosmic energy. There's also some kind of Sword King chi. How scary, thought Lin Feng as he condensed more sword intent himself. He didn't want to face the attack head-on, if only to see if he could. A gigantic black sword appeared, looking like a demonic mountain as it fell. As their attacks collided, it was difficult for the audience to imagine that battle was only between Zoom cultivators. The young man with the iron sword was propelled higher in the air as Lin Feng was propelled downwards, crashing into the ground. They both felt paralyzed from the exchange. The man who was fighting Lin Feng looked at him and said, Your sword techniques are great because you know so many types of energies. I cannot defeat you, but I can still tell that there are some small problems with your sword techniques, being that they're not pure enough. No sword technique is perfect, and I acknowledge that my techniques do have many flaws. Thank you for your advice. Even though you lost, you can be proud, said Lin Feng. Lin Feng really didn't know how to create the strongest attacks, even though he knew so many things. I know what you mean. You're not like most people. I am not as talented as you, so I must study very hard. All of this considered, I was happy to fight against you, said the young man. Then, he walked away. I am pleased as well, thank you, said Lin Feng smiling. Then, someone else landed in front of Lin Feng who was wearing a helmet adorned with feathers. It looks like the champion also wants to fight, thought the crowd. The elder smiled indifferently. No matter how strong Lin Feng was, sword cultivators were always determined. I hope we can exchange our views on cultivation, said the young man with the helmet. He was holding a fiery sword which wasn't an imperial weapon. They didn't use imperial weapons during their battles because it would have been meaningless. Even though imperial weapons could help a cultivator become stronger, this was a test of personal skill. Initially, Lin Feng wanted to fight against the young man with the iron sword because he wanted to see him use Emperor Tai Jian's technique up close, but why not fight against the champion of the contest as well? Unsheath your sword, said Lin Feng in a calm way. The young man nodded, then his sword energies dashed to the skies. With a flash, 9 suns appeared in the sky, illuminating the area. Lin Feng's reluctantly squinted his eyes under that penetrating light. A terrifying fire suddenly appeared in front of Lin Feng, giving him the impression that he was in danger. He subconsciously shivered before moving like the wind. 9 suns assassination, the young man moved as well, condensing the 9 suns into a gigantic fire dragon. Break! Lin Feng closed his eyes, then a death sword appeared in his hand. The sword and the dragon clashed. However, the young man landed in front of Lin Feng. Lin Feng's fingers turned into sharp swords while the 9 suns appeared again, just as dazzling as before. 9 suns laceration, said the young man. This time the 9 suns turned into a sharp fiery sword. Desolate explosion, shouted Lin Feng furiously. He condensed destructive energies this time. 9 suns shield, said the young man. He disappeared and reappeared in front of Lin Feng, his sword still moving towards Lin Feng at full speed. Attack! Lin Feng stopped using his real sword, and funneled his energies into his hands, which turned into swords, and then his entire body followed suit. Ha! The elder from Sword Mountain sensed Wu Tian's qi in Lin Feng's energies. Chapter 1657, Wu Tian Jian, indeed, his sword technique really looks like his, thought the elder. He wasn't the only one to recognize this. Many other old cultivators from Sword Mountain were surprised by Lin Feng's sword intent. However, it had only lasted for a few seconds. With some effort, Lin Feng continued to hold off his opponent. Eventually, the battle dragged on until the young man suddenly moved back. He knew he had lost. You're like a sword, at least you think like one. I can't defeat you, said the young man, smiling wryly. He had tried to use powerful and explosive attacks to earn himself an early victory, but when that didn't work out, he was quickly depleted. My sword attacks aren't weak though, said the young man. Lin Feng nodded, indeed, your sword techniques are perfect I think. No matter what, I think that Zun cultivators can't defeat you, only emperors can threaten you, said the young man calmly. Lin Feng, said the elder at that moment, making Lin Feng turn around. Your sword techniques are incredible, so you must have had a teacher who taught you sword cultivation, right? Asked the old man. Someday, a strong sword cultivator told me I had to understand swords myself, so I spent a few years studying them myself, explained Lin Feng, not speaking the entire truth. A moment before, he had been careless and released some of Emperor Wu Tianjian's sword intent. Seeing how he still didn't know why Emperor Wu Tianjian fought Sword Mountain's strongest cultivator all those years ago, he had to be careful with what he said. Oh. Wonderful, if that's possible, we'd like to meet him, said the old man smiling. I met him in a small world by accident, said Lin Feng. There were many small worlds in the continent of the 9 clouds, so the old man couldn't know which small world Lin Feng was talking about. The elder nodded and looked at all the disciples. Lin Feng's sword techniques are incredible, so if you want to learn something from him, hurry up and challenge him now. Nobody replied. The first and second disciples of the contest had lost to him already, so they knew they couldn't defeat him. I'm off then, said Lin Feng, after he saw that nobody wanted to fight him. He flew back to Wuxia. A few other outsiders were there, but they didn't draw everyone's attention as Lin Feng had. After all, after Lin Feng's battles, could there be anything more interesting? After the contest, Lin Feng and Wuxia went back to Sword Mountain, resting above some sheer precipices and overhanging rocks. Wuxia smiled at Lin Feng, the leader of Sword Mountain. Emperor Tai Jian practiced here a lot back in the day. If you focus, you can sense his sword energies. Lin Feng smiled at Wuxia, seemingly understanding each other. Lin Feng jumped in the air above the valley, sword energy rise with him. Although it was extremely old, it still hadn't dispersed. Apart from Emperor Tai Jian's sword intent, there's also a monarchic sword intent, thought Lin Feng, sensing the energies around him. Emperor Tai Jian's ancient scriptures were called the Sword King scriptures for a reason. After a short time, Lin Feng went back to the top of the precipice and smiled at Wuxia. Are there other types of sword intent left by other strong cultivators? This is Sword Mountain, so of course there are many things left by some ancestors, said Wuxia. He took Lin Feng to another place where mountains surrounded them, each with a different type of energy. Even while standing afar, one could feel the oppressive might from millions of swords. Many ancestors came here to practice sword cultivation and left their sword intents. Over time it became more and more chaotic, said Wuxia, who was laughing. Lin Feng understood what it meant. If a cultivator persevered and stayed there to practice sword cultivation, then it could have great consequences. Lin Feng dived straight into the chaotic sword intent, being immediately feeling assaulted by millions of swords. Heavy sword intent, sharp sword intent, death sword intent, Lin Feng's sword intent chaotically moved around as well. Lin Feng closed his eyes and calmly sensed the energies. Wuxia looked at Lin Feng and smiled as he thought about how Lin Feng looked like a sword. 10 days later, the two of them left. At the foot of Sword Mountain, Lin Feng turned around and smiled at Wuxia. There's no need to see me off. If I have time, I'll come back to Sword Mountain to see you. Wuxia shook his head and said, the continent of the 9 clouds is full of strong cultivators, so we don't know what will happen. I will also leave soon and practice outside, for I need to face dangers to become stronger. If I stay in Sword Mountain all the time, I'll just rot here, and I'll never become a great emperor. Lin Feng nodded, he completely understood. When will we see each other again? Asked Lin Feng. Unless we bump into each other, we'll meet again when Tiantai becomes famous, said Wuxia smiling. Lin Feng nodded and left, looking confident and at ease as he did so. Even if Tiantai rises in the great world, how can we protect it if we're not strong enough? Whispered Wuxia as Lin Feng left. Tiantai's disciples are neither cowards nor weaklings. We each have our own ways of doing things. Lin Feng suddenly started moving with incredible speed, a sonic boom sounding as he accelerated. Lin Feng's sword intent kept changing as he moved along, an earth sword, immortal sword, ice-cold death sword, 10 different types of sword intent were flowing in the air. At the same time, he was followed by a cloud of demonic chi as his sword and demon energies were intertwining. Lin Feng's sword energies kept changing as he was trying to find the best ways to combine them. Fire and demon, demon fire sword, earth and demon energies, a hard and heavy sword, he tried everything. Gotcha. Finally, Lin Feng stopped. A gigantic canyon formed below him as terrifyingly sharp demon energies engulfed the area. Arg! Lin Feng shouted furiously as he turned into a demonic sword. Sword and demon energies can destroy the sky, the world can't defeat me, shouted Lin Feng as he raised his hands to the sky. This sword is called Wu Tian, said Lin Feng. A hurricane filled with demonic energies formed and rose to the sky. Chapter 1658, Investigating about Lin Feng. Back in Sword Mountain, the elder was standing calmly at the top of a mountain. He glanced at the top of another mountain and saw a blurry silhouette. What do you want? Said an indifferently voice. The great elder had been standing there for a few hours already. Master, earlier today at the contest, I saw Emperor Wu Tianjian's sword intent, said the great elder in a low voice. The blurry silhouette looked surprised for a second. Who? Asked the blurry silhouette. Lin Feng, He's the champion of the weapon contest from Goldfire Tower, he controls many types of abstruse energies, and he's a cultivator at the very top of the Zun Qi layer who can kill emperors. He even practices sword cultivation, having used Emperor Wu Tianjian's sword intent. He said a powerful sword cultivator had taught him some things before. The elder explained everything in detail. Send some people to Goldfire City. If you can't find anything about him there, then continue investigating, said the blurry silhouette. The great elder bowed and said, I'll take care of it. Then he left. The leader of Sword Mountain was a great emperor, and even though the great elder was already a high-level emperor, the difference between high-level emperors and great emperors was immense. Lin Feng didn't know what Sword Mountain was wanting to learn about him. Lin Feng still didn't know why Emperor Wu Tianjian and Emperor Tai Jian had fought before. At that moment, Lin Feng was walking in a field with two incredibly beautiful women next to him, Meng Qing and Qiu Yuxian. They could only appear in Lin Feng's dream. This time, they were both cultivators at the very top of the Zun Qi layer. Inside the Jade Emperor's palace, it would be difficult to break through to the Huang Qi layer, so Lin Feng felt both guilty and sad for them. He couldn't let them travel on their own though because he would be too worried. Lin Feng, said Qiu Yuxian, frowning. What's wrong? Lin Feng asked. I feel like the other side of me is coming back to life, it's getting more and more intense. I'm afraid I won't be able to stand the pressure, said Qiu Yuxian in a low voice, scared. Her other personality. Lin Feng sighed. Lin Feng couldn't help Qiu Yuxian with this. She could only rely on herself to overcome that personality. You can do it, said Lin Feng, smiling in a gentle way while caressing her hands. Qiu Yuxian nodded and smiled back. There's a village over there, we should go have a rest, said Meng Qing, pointing at a village. Lin Feng smiled, he couldn't refuse as he wasn't in a rush. There were many small rivers and streams in the village. The landscapes were beautiful. The people in the village were rather weak, any Tian or Zun level cultivators were considered very strong there. They sat down by a river and put their feet in the water, enjoying the peace and tranquility. Lin Feng, I like this place, said Meng Qing smiling. She glanced around, looking at the fields, noticing the many young people who were practicing cultivation. Most of them were Xian-level cultivators who were studying the human and earth fusion, so that they could break through to the Tian Qi layer. Without medicine and talent, living in this world is difficult. We must suffer a lot to become stronger, which means fighting in wars and killing many people. Even if we break through to the Tian Qi layer later than others, it doesn't matter because after that, we also have time to break through to the Zun Qi layer, and then the Huang Qi layer. People don't lack time, they lack experience and intent, said a strong cultivator to the young people. Lin Feng smiled. Those young people were about 13 and 14. At that age, Lin Feng didn't know that much about cultivation, and now he was one step away from breaking though to the Huang Qi layer. I wonder how Xiao Chen and Yi Shui are doing. The baby must have grown up some, thought Lin Feng, looking at the sunny village. It made him remember the small village in the small world. Wu Shang must be 9 years old now, thought Lin Feng. He was younger than Xiao Chen, but Wu Shang was already 9. I want to have a child too, said Meng Qing smiling. Lin Feng grabbed her hands and smiled, you're not shy anymore. I want to have a child with you and then raise him, watching him grow up, said Meng Qing blushing and hugging Lin Feng. Lin Feng caressed her back, he was touched but he knew it was impossible until he became an emperor. Qiu Yuxian grabbed Lin Feng's arm and said in a gentle voice, Lin Feng, give us clothes and masks, and then we'll stay with you. Lin Feng caressed her head. She really wanted to travel with him. Yes, I agree, said Meng Qing. Lin Feng smiled wryly and said, all right, I can do that. The teacher then noticed Lin Feng. He wasn't a cultivator and he had two incredibly beautiful women next to him. Actually, he couldn't see Lin Feng's cultivation, which meant a really strong cultivator had come to their village. "Let's go," said Lin Feng, and then they disappeared. The teacher was surprised, those people were just too fast. Lin Feng and the two girls traveled through mountains, lakes, small cities, and boundless flatlands. They had also fought against many people. Apart from the famous main cities, there were also a myriad of average cities and villages. A month later, they went back to Goldfire City. At that moment, back in Sword Mountain, on the Forbidden Peak, the Great Elder came to see the leader again. He had investigated Lin Feng, and each time he learned something new about Lin Feng, he was surprised. "So, how did it go?" asked the leader. "I checked Mui from the Mu clan in Goldfire City, he's the one who brought Lin Feng to Goldfire City. We made people chat with him, talk about his past, and some other important things. We learned some things about the Everlasting Palace and some about the 9 great celestial castles. We also made some cultivators go to see Xiang City and the 9 great celestial castles to investigate further. Lin Feng is from a small world, and he knows more than 10 different types of abstruse energies. I even sent some people to his small world to see if there was anything about him there." The Great Elder had done all he could to find out more about Lin Feng. Mui didn't talk about Lin Feng that much, just about the places they'd been. Chapter 1659, Awakening. Back in Ba Huang, the Wen clan had replaced the Qi clan. In the central part of Ba Huang, the Wen clan was very famous, exceptionally strong even. They were the strongest group in Ba Huang. Apart from the Wen clan, there was another group, a group of alchemists who had been rising for a few years now. Ba Huangjiu, you already knew that they lived in a small world. Many people were curious about the great world, especially talented and outstanding young people. They wanted to see what it looked like, but at the same time, they knew they couldn't go because they were still too weak. At that moment, in the central part of Ba Huang, there were some people investigating about the past of the province, including Lin Feng's sword cultivation. Lin Feng was very famous in that world, so everybody knew about him. Concerning the strong sword cultivator, Jiang had one who had threatened the messenger from the celestial palace of punishing thunders. Everybody thought that he was Emperor Wu Tianjian. Now, emperors don't fight after they left with the geniuses of the province. "We're in a small world, so maybe that they don't want to come back," someone reasoned. Back in Sword City, Jiang had become bigger and more important. Even the Wen clan and the pavilion of the monarchic alchemists didn't dare offend Jiang. At that moment, a middle-aged man arrived outside of Jiang's territory. He had a long, ordinary-looking sword resting on his back, but his sword qi was terrifying. "Who are you?" asked 2 guards coldly. "I've heard that Jiang is a place for sword cultivators. I've been practicing sword cultivation for 40 years, so I want to see the cultivators from Jiang," said the middle-aged man. Suddenly, he released a terrifying sword qi which whistled ferociously. The 2 guards' faces turned slightly pale after he released his sword qi. "Thunder Sword," said the middle-aged man who was wearing cotton clothes. He was releasing Thunder Sword energies. After a short time, people on a gigantic sword appeared in the horizon, Jian Mu and the others. "Who are you, Your Excellency?" asked Jian Mu frowning. That person's sword intent was terrifying. "You're so weak, too weak even. You call this a holy place for sword cultivators," said the middle-aged man, his thunder sword qi moving back to him. The sword cultivators of Jiang suddenly released sword energies, but the middle-aged man rose up in the air, his thunderous qi assaulting everyone beneath him. Although blood spilt, no one died. "You call yourselves sword cultivators," mocked the middle-aged man while releasing even more sword qi. That guy was a sword emperor, which in Ba Huang was more than surprising. Few people in that small world could face him. "I'll just have to destroy Jiang then." "You are a disgrace for sword cultivators," said the middle-aged man, unsheathing his sword. Nobody could dodge that attack. It seemed, they were doomed. "Piss off," shouted someone at that moment. The middle-aged man looked at the gigantic sword and said, "There's a very strong sword cultivator here, but he doesn't want to come out." Suddenly, sword energy rose to the skies, surprising the middle-aged man. "Master, could you please teach me sword cultivation?" asked the middle-aged man. "If I appear personally, I'll have to kill you, so just piss off," said the voice. The middle-aged man looked horrified. He bowed before the gigantic sword and said, "I disturbed you, so I'll leave." Then the middle-aged man left. At that moment, outside of the sword grave, there was an old man leaning against a wall. Emperor Wu Tianjian's sword was floating in front of him. He stretched out his hand and grabbed the sword, then he whispered, "Even though I am in the small world, some people are still looking for me." Who was that strong sword cultivator who had come to Ba Huang? He had come only to make Emperor Wu Tianjian appear. The reason was clear: Lin Feng had already been to Sword Mountain, otherwise no sword emperor would have known to come to Jianghe. Over in Shuiyu, in Empress Shi's small world where Duan Xianyi lived, Yu Menghe and Lu Fei were watching Duan Xianyi practice cultivation. Lu Fei, Xianyi is becoming stronger and stronger with each day. Yu Menghe said to Lu Fei using telepathy. "Indeed, she has changed a lot." "She's improving so fast," said Lu Fei, though he was frowning. Xianyi was going through something strange where she became a stranger, sometimes possessing her old personality. "Maybe it's because little Feng hasn't come back in such a long time," suggested Yu Menghe, still using telepathy. "I don't think so. I don't think she would ever act like that if she could help it," said Lu Fei, still frowning. 7 years had passed, and she was still the same, just a bit more mature. But Duan Xianyi wasn't as gentle as in the past, she was colder like a ice queen. "After so many years, when will little Lin Feng come back?" whispered Yu Menghe. Luckily, she had Wuxian, otherwise she would have missed Lin Feng too much. "Mother, breaking through to the Huangqi layer is extremely difficult." "Lin Feng will come back after having broken through to the Huangqi layer," said Lu Fei, smiling in a gentle way. However, at that moment, Duan Xianyi suddenly opened her eyes. Her hair was messy, she looked cold and distant. As soon as she opened her eyes, she left. "Xianyi," shouted Yu Menghe. However, Duan Xianyi ignored her and disappeared into the horizon. Duan Xianyi had become stronger than Yu Menghe, so she couldn't catch up with her anymore. Back in the Great World, in Goldfire City, Qiu Yu Xian suddenly started shaking as she released volumes of mercilessness qi. "Yu Xian," said Lin Feng, hugging her tightly. But even as he hugged her, Qiu Yu Xian was still shaking and her mercilessness qi didn't disperse. She kept pushing Lin Feng in a struggle, but after a short time, she came back to her senses and her mercilessness qi progressively disappeared. "Yu Xian, what's wrong?" asked Meng Qing, she looked worried. Qiu Yu Xian looked terrified as she looked at Lin Feng and Meng Qing and said, "She awoke." "Who?" asked Meng Qing. "Who had awoken?" Lin Feng's heart started pounding. She had awoken. Thousands of years before, she hadn't died. Chapter 1660, Getting rid of Lin Feng in Sword Mountain, the Great Elder went to the Forbidden Peak again. "Is it clear now?" asked the blurry silhouette. "Yes, it is, it's him indeed. He's hiding in a small world," said the Great Elder. After so many years, they had found him again. Whoosh! Emperor Tai Jian's iron sword started buzzing and whistling. "Leader," said the Great Elder, bowing before Emperor Tai Jian. "You're my fellow disciple, so you must know the story better than anyone else." "I need to go personally," said Emperor Tai Jian. Indeed, back then he had defeated that person, but after such a long time, he had probably recovered. "You are wise, brother." Even though the leader of Sword Mountain was his fellow disciple, he was also a great emperor. "What is the link between him and Lin Feng?" asked Emperor Tai Jian. "Lin Feng is the young master of Jianghe, where he is living. Maybe he received Emperor Wu Tianjian's teachings there. In that small world, Lin Feng is very famous, and everybody knows him, said the great elder. He was trying to think of what to do with Lin Feng. He was a genius, but surprisingly, he was also Wu Tianjian's descendant. Brother, Lin Feng has a fellow disciple from the small world who's a disciple here in our Sword Mountain. His name is Wuxia and he's very talented, one of the most outstanding youth from Sword Mountain. He already understands cosmic energies, and his decay abstruse energy is already at the highest degree. He will probably understand decay cosmic energy soon, said the great elder of Sword Mountain. Is he his descendant too? Asked Emperor Tai Jian. Lin Feng could already kill emperors and Wuxia was extremely talented, could they both be his disciple? No, Wuxia and Lin Feng come from Tiantai, a small group of influence. Wuxia has nothing to do with Wu Tianjian. Emperor Tai Jian nodded and said, I know what you mean. Wuxia joined Sword Mountain, so raise him properly. However, since Lin Feng is his descendant, we must get rid of him. Lin Feng has also received the everlasting celestial emperor's teachings, the everlasting palace is looking for him as we speak. They will deal with Lin Feng, not that he's back in Gold Fire Tower, said the great elder. Think of a solution and find a guide, said Emperor Tai Jian. The great elder nodded and bowed. He understood, but he was startled, he hadn't thought things would escalate that quickly. Initially, he wanted Lin Feng to be closer to Sword Mountain's people, but he hadn't thought he would be a descendant of Emperor Wu Tianjian. Lin Feng didn't know all those things. He had been protecting Qiu Yu Xian for a while as her mercilessness qi grew. Lin Feng used his dream of life ancient scriptures to help her, and in the dream, she dealt with her mercilessness problem safely. Lin Feng also tried many different things to help her, gradually figuring out what worked. If his dream cultivation became better, then he would be able to cure Qiu Yu Xian. At that moment, back in Goldfire City, Lin Feng was seated on a chair, sunbathing. He closed his eyes and enjoyed the sun. However, something was bugging him. A 1,000-year-old being had awoken and Qiu Yu Xian's mercilessness qi was getting worse and worse. A beautiful girl approached Lin Feng from behind and caressed his chest. She put her cheek against his cheek. Lin Feng opened his eyes and smiled in a gentle way. Don't think about it too much. There will be a solution, especially once you become stronger. When you understand dream cosmic energy, you will be able to use dream creation powers to help her completely get rid of her mercilessness, said Meng Qing, giving a massage to Lin Feng. Indeed, whispered Lin Feng. He put his hands on Meng Qing's face and kissed her gently. I will protect you all. I trust you, said Meng Qing smiling. We should go to Goldfire Tower, said Lin Feng. He stood up and started walking. He would go to the vast celestial ancient city with some of the strong cultivators from Goldfire Tower soon, and hopefully he'd break through to the Huang Qi layer soon. I'll call you Xian, said Meng Qing, walking towards a room. After a short time, Meng Qing and Qiu Yu Xian came out, both were wearing men's clothes and had masks. Ha! Lin Feng couldn't help but burst into laughter. Meng Qing stuck out her tongue and laughed. What are you laughing at? You're so beautiful, said Lin Feng laughing. But even like that, I can tell that you're a woman from those beautiful eyes. It doesn't matter, if people don't look at us in the eyes, then we'll be fine, said Meng Qing. Wear a plaited bamboo hat then, and don't draw people's attention, said Lin Feng, still laughing. Meng Qing and Qiu Yu Xian nodded, and then they left. Goldfire Tower was a special place for Lin Feng, he could bring people there without having to worry about their safety. Lin Feng was walking towards his room when a beautiful girl called for him, Lin Feng. When he saw her, he smiled, Lin Shui. Lin Feng, the contest ended a while ago in Sword Mountain, so why didn't you come back earlier? Did anything happen to you on the way back? Asked Mu Lin Shui, glancing at the two people with Lin Feng. Nothing happened, I was just traveling, replied Lin Feng in a gentle way. Mu Lin Xue didn't live far from him, so Lin Feng guessed that she had been waiting for him the entire time. Oh. Mu Lin Xue nodded. She didn't know what to say, she had been sad since he left. Back then, when they made weapons together, she was always relaxed, but now she didn't know what to say and felt stupid. Who are they? Asked Mu Lin Xue, looking at Meng Qing and Qiu Yuxian. My friends, said Lin Feng smiling. By the way, I've heard that you were going to the vast celestial ancient city with some strong cultivators from Goldfire Tower. I'll be coming too, said Mu Lin Xue, smiling proudly. Lin Feng smiled wryly, especially when he remembered the two beautiful women behind him. Lin Xue, you have the nine-headed imperial snake fire, it's a perfect time for you to stabilize your cultivation. You should stay here and practice weapon forging techniques, suggested Lin Feng. Lin Feng is right. The vast celestial ancient city is very far away, and the trip will be extensive. You should stay here instead, said the professor in the golden-purple clothes. But I want to go, said Mu Lin Xue. Meng Qing looked at Lin Feng angrily, he was making a woman sad again. Chapter 1661, Nihility Sword Scriptures. Lin Feng smiled wryly when he heard Mu Lin Xue, saying, Lin Xue, it's not the right time for you to go and travel. I will come back to Goldfire Tower to see you if I have time. In the future. In the world of cultivation, dozens of years were not considered that long of a time, so him saying this might mean he'd come back in the next 100 years. Lin Xue, Lin Feng is right. In the future, you will have the opportunity to travel, but for now you should focus on becoming stronger first, said the professor in the golden-purple clothes. When will you come back? Asked Mu Lin Xue. She looked desperate but still tried to smile. After having broken through to the Huangqi layer, I may need your help to make imperial weapons in the future, said Lin Feng, smiling. He wanted to build Tiantai in the Great World, and if he did, he'd need weapons for his disciples. But Mu Lin Xue didn't know about Lin Feng's plans, she only knew that he was a great deployment spellcaster and that he didn't know that much about imperial weapons. By the way, before I go to the vast celestial ancient city, I'd like to refine a sword, said Lin Feng, suddenly thinking about his Tianji sword. Seeing how it already contained a lot of sword souls, he wanted it to become more powerful. Refine what sword? Asked Mu Lin Xue. She missed the good old times when they used to make weapons together. This sword. Lin Feng made his Tianji sword appear. What a strange sword! The professor in golden-purple clothes was surprised as he said, your sword has souls. Indeed, replied Lin Feng nodding. That sword can be modified, indeed. Besides, it is strongly connected to your soul, so it can become even more powerful, said the professor smiling. He was surprised, Lin Feng was only a Zun cultivator, but his sword contained souls, like it was alive. When should we refine it? Mu Lin Xue asked Lin Feng. Lin Feng asked, when do we leave for the vast celestial ancient city? I'll come to your room when we leave, said the professor smiling. I'm off for now. I suppose we can do it now then, said Lin Feng when he saw the professor leaving. I need materials, so wait for me here, said Mu Lin Xue, also leaving. Mu Lin Xue was surprisingly gone for a few days. When she came back, they began to prepare refining the Tianji sword. Before they started, some lights appeared around them. It was the first time Lin Feng saw what a sword soul looked like. The purple one was the thunder soul, the red one was fire, and so on. The dots were suspended in the sky, clear to see by anyone. I need to cleanse my sword again, thought Lin Feng. Lin Feng, your sword is different from many imperial weapons because it has souls. The strength of your sword is limited to the power of its souls. Because of this, your deployment marks and the soul of your sword are interconnected, said Mu Lin Xue. Elsewhere in Goldfire City, there were two people who were gazing into the distance. There wasn't a single soul in sight around them though. Are you sure he's in Goldfire Tower? Asked one of them indifferently. It was a young man. I'm sure, said the other one nodding. Who are you? Are there tensions between Goldfire Tower and you? Those people had given them information, they even brought them to Goldfire City, but what was their goal? That person smiled indifferently and said, we just gave you some information. It's important to know that Goldfire Tower is going to send some people to the vast celestial ancient city, and Lin Feng will be going with them. If you don't want to offend Goldfire Tower, you should wait a bit longer. We told you everything we could, so we're off now. This has nothing to do with us, said that person before he left. The young man didn't even glance at them, he had learnt what he wanted to know. Watch Goldfire Tower and be careful. We'll do it on the road, said the young man. Back in the small world, there was a strong cultivator wearing ordinary clothes, and he wasn't tall, but he had a gigantic iron sword on his back. He had some memories in his godly awareness which contained a map of central Bahuang. However, at that moment, the middle-aged man stopped in the sky, for in front of him was a gigantic sword mountain. An old and tired-looking man was seated there. You're still alive, said Emperor Tai Jian. You became the leader of Sword Mountain and you've also become a great emperor, said the old man, looking at Emperor Tai Jian calmly. Where are the Nihility sword scriptures? Asked Emperor Tai Jian coldly. Teacher told you, the Nihility sword scriptures are not suitable for you, they're only good for my cultivation. A terrifying force oppressed the mountain, but the old man remained calm and didn't move. The old man was confused. He also wanted you to be the descendant of Sword Mountain. But in the end, you lost against me and I became a great emperor. If I had the Nihility sword scriptures, I would be even stronger, shouted the great emperor, his voice resonated all around the region. Some parts of the mountain even exploded. Back then, I lost against you, and I've never recovered. I know I can't fight against you, but you can't kill me either. Concerning the Nihility sword scriptures, said the old man, smiling indifferently. Then, he stood up and looked at Emperor Tai Jian, his eyes were twinkling and contained Wu Tian energy. Boom! Emperor Tai Jian suddenly moved backwards at full speed. He felt that something was going to leave an imprint in his brain. Break! Shouted Emperor Tai Jian furiously. The ground was shaking before Emperor Wu Tianjian's sword energy eventually weakened and dispersed. Emperor Tai Jian looked back at the old man, but the old man just smiled as his silhouette disappeared and turned to void. You understand, don't make any mistakes. Even though I can't kill you, I can easily kill a few people from Sword Mountain. With that, the atmosphere became calm again as if he had never been there. Nihility sword scriptures, Nihility sword scriptures. Emperor Tai Jian looked at the sky and released sword energies, destroying a mountain range. In a few minutes, all the mountains around him had disappeared, leaving a barren flatland. Emperor Tai Jian looked furious. The old man hadn't recovered, but he had started studying the Nihility sword scriptures. Chapter 1662, Chasing to Kill, Nihility. If the sword turns to nothing, then the human being can turn to nothing as well. I need the Nihility sword scriptures, whispered Emperor Tai Jian. He knew that Emperor Wu Tianjian had already realized that Sword Mountain was looking for him. Emperor Tai Jian flew toward central Bahuang. He was going to have some fun there. Back in Goldfire Tower, the professor in golden-purple clothes went to Lin Feng's room. He entered his room just as Lin Feng finished carving a talisman. Then, Lin Feng walked up to the professor. Master, are we leaving now? Indeed. Everything is ready. If you're still busy though, you can leave later, said the professor smiling. Master, that would be an exaggeration. How could I postpone? I have nothing left to prepare, we can leave, said Lin Feng. I came myself because I want to go too, said the professor. Lin Feng was surprised, the level 9 professor wanted to go to the vast celestial ancient city too. It seemed that the person they wanted to see had a terrifying background. Perhaps he was a great emperor. You can bring your two friends too, said the professor. Meng Qing and Xiu Yu Xian were now standing next to Lin Feng, wearing the same clothes and plaited bamboo hats. Even though they looked mysterious, nobody asked them anything in Goldfire Tower. Lin Feng, said Mu Lin Shui. Lin Feng looked at her. She was wearing a sexy light blue dress, looking very attractive. She was smiling in a gentle way. I'll see you off. Indeed. Lin Feng nodded and they left. More than 20 people left together. Hen Chang Tian was in the group, as well as a few middle-aged people whose cultivation levels were enigmatic. The leader of the group was the level 9 professor, the professor in the golden-purple clothes. The group left Goldfire Tower and rose up in the air. Lin Feng smiled at Mu Lin Shui and said, Lin Shui, you can go back. Say goodbye to Uncle Mui from me. I'll tell my father, but I want to see you off. I'll go back after we exit Goldfire City, said Mu Lin Shui, shaking her head. Lin Feng didn't want to argue, so he agreed. There was a boat waiting for them in the distance. The group got on the boat and then quickly disappeared. How fast, thought some nearby people. That boat was extremely fast. It must have been a level 7 or higher imperial weapon. In the distance, the young man was watching and was surprised. Wasn't the group who were going to the vast celestial ancient city supposed to be composed of only a few young people? There were high-level emperors in that group, so he didn't think about it too much, marks appearing under his feet. He immediately flew into the distance. Lin Feng and the others arrived at the periphery of the city where Mu Lin Shui jumped off the boat and left. Whoosh! A strong wind started blew above here. Mu Lin Shui was surprised. She raised her head and saw some remnant holy marks which were leading to the boat. Who was that, thought Mu Lin Shui. On the boat, everyone was seated. Although they were extremely fast, the vast celestial ancient city was extremely far away, so it would take time. With that time, they wanted to practice cultivation. The professor in the golden-purple robe had a strange feeling. He sensed that the qi from the boat was stiff, but because they were moving so fast, it was difficult to have a clear perception. Faster, said the professor, and then the boat accelerated. It was even scarier as it cut the sky in two like a sword. After the boat accelerated, the professor looked back again. The qi is getting more intense, thought the professor. He was sure someone was chasing them and that person had started chasing them since they first left the city. Even though strength is one of the most important things, imperial weapons can still be very useful. If I had such a boat, I would be safe in most cases, thought Lin Feng. Master, did anything happen? Asked Lin Feng. A strong cultivator is chasing us, said the professor, frowning. How strong are they? Lin Feng asked. They're not any slower than our boat, which means that they're terrifying, said the professor. Are they a great emperor? Asked Lin Feng. Top of the Huang Qi layer, and he's chasing us even though he's alone, which means that he's very confident, said the professor, accelerating again. Indeed, the young man was a cultivator at the very top of the Huang Qi layer. He had been sent by the Everlasting Palace, and he was hoping to capture Lin Feng. Even though they didn't say it clearly, he could guess why they had sent him and not a great emperor. Great emperors were difficult to deal with, so if they found Lin Feng, they might leave with him and never go back to the Everlasting Palace. That boat is so fast, thought the young man. Dong! The young man continued to follow, pulling out a scroll to move faster. The young man shouted, Everybody from Goldfire Tower, please stop, I have nothing against you. Deployment lights. He might be from the Everlasting Palace. It's not that easy to catch up with us, said the professor in a cold way. He didn't intend to stop. If he catches up, you escape, and I'll deal with him for as long as I can, said the professor. He didn't know anything about the person who was chasing them, but he might be able to hold out. The young man continued chasing them for a while, but he couldn't catch up with them, which annoyed him. I promise that I just want Lin Feng, I'm not interested in anyone from Goldfire Tower, said the young man loudly. Chapter 1663, Ancient Clan Lin Feng shivered. He was right, they had come for him. Lin Feng was sure that it was someone from the Everlasting Palace. I thought they wouldn't come because Xiang City was so far away from Goldfire City, but I was wrong, thought Lin Feng. What he didn't know was that without Sword Mountain, the young man couldn't have found him, but it was too late now. Lin Feng's only hope was for the professor to protect him. If he gave up Lin Feng, then Lin Feng wouldn't have a chance. But even if he was caught, he knew that since he had the everlasting Celestial Emperor's deployment spells, they wouldn't kill him. As expected, after their group heard that, they all turned to Lin Feng, Meng Qing and Qiu Yuxian. They had different opinions, but the professor in the golden-purple clothes had to decide. The professor's eyes twinkled as he thought. Time passed quickly, but he didn't look worried. Lin Feng is our guest of honor, and we won't let him down. If he gave up Lin Feng, everything he had done for him would have been useless. If Lin Feng left, then it would be a different story. Humph. The young man groaned as he accelerated. They continued flying above mountains and fields. Sometimes, the people on the ground saw them and were amazed by their speed. Far from Lin Feng and the others, there was a desolate mountain range where the sun seemed to loom just above it. However, at that moment, darkness was invading the area. The darkness seemed gloomy, like an ancient grave opening. A coffin was slowly starting to break apart, unveiling a dark shadow. With it, a terrifying chi rose to the skies, and ancient strength invaded the sky. Somewhere nearby, a strong cultivator was practicing cultivation in a cave. However, he suddenly opened his eyes and left the cave just in time to see a terrifying darkness fill the entire mountain range. That's world strength. He was a medium-level emperor, so he understood that strength. After having broken through to the Huan Qi layer, cultivators' perceptions were even more acute. They could create small worlds, and the stronger they were in terms of cultivation, the more stable their small worlds were. Of course, it didn't mean that the bigger a small world was, the better it was. If a cultivator's abilities were not high enough, his small world could be destroyed easily, which would make all their efforts pointless. Go, a strong cultivator's silhouette flickered. In the central part of the mountain range, a terrifying dark vortex appeared. Its dark chi was as fast as the strong cultivator. Some time passed, and the dark shadow caught up and surrounded the strong cultivator. The strong cultivator's facial expression changed drastically as he shouted, "No!" The strong cultivator disappeared inside that darkness. The vortex was getting more intense as lights flashed inside it. It wasn't just a dark vortex, it was also filled with something else. There was nobody left in the desolate mountain range. They had all either been absorbed by the darkness or had escaped. With a gust of terrifying wind, someone appeared, a human being. There was an altar above him, and above the altar, there was a cloud carrying a coffin. There were complex marks on the coffin. In front of the altar, a group of old people appeared who were wearing antique clothes. They were skinny and looked strange. The atmosphere calmed down, there was only destructive energies left, and still, nobody talked. World Clan. The World Clan was a mysterious group of ancient clans. They understood world strength, which was a mysterious and mystical strength that couldn't be used by ordinary people. In the distance, a boat and a young man appeared. They didn't know there was an ancient group there and that they were having a ceremony. They were using the ancient world coffin to transmit their knowledge to new kings. After some time, the group in the boat noticed the dark vortex in the distance. They frowned and said, "What's that?" However, the boat was fast, so after a short time, the professor in golden-purple clothes, who was a high-level emperor, was close enough to sense the world strength. World strength. The professor made the boat fly in that direction. He wanted to see what was going on there. "Arg!" the young man behind shouted furiously. His voice was loud enough to make some mountains explode. The two old people before the altar raised their heads and gazed into the distance. The boat and the young man couldn't go back now. "Bastard, the professor in the golden purple clothes and the young man weren't far from those people, and the young man had shouted so that everybody could see them. The boat stopped, the professor looked at the two old people before the altar and at the surroundings. His heart started pounding. That was an ancient clan, and they were having an important ceremony which they didn't want disturbed. The young man smiled coldly, but then quickly looked petrified when he realized what was going on. He also started trembling. Ancient clan, world strength, was that a mysterious ancient clan? Chapter 1664, Guessing Things About Meng Qing. The two old people looked at the group in the sky in a calm way. It was impossible to know what they were thinking. The professor in the golden purple clothes looked apologetic. He knew that the ancient clan's ceremony was extremely important. If he had offended them, then they might slaughter them. Even high-level emperors feared those people. "We come in peace, and we hope we haven't disturbed you." "We'll be leaving now," said the professor. One of the old men looked indifferent as he said, "You all stay here, don't move." The professor's heart was pounding violently, but he nodded. The members of the World Clan had told them not to move to prevent them from disrupting the ceremony. Other things could wait for after the ceremony. "What's that strength?" thought Lin Feng, looking at the vortex which was becoming more and more terrifying. It looked like a demon cloud. Lin Feng hadn't experienced much in the great world, so he couldn't know about world clans. However, when he saw their faces, he was both impressed and fearful. "Is it a small world?" thought Lin Feng. The young man was looking at Lin Feng in a cold way. Lin Feng felt uncomfortable, but he also knew that he was safe until they finished their ceremony. The wind was becoming more terrifying as a terrifying dark vortex appeared around the coffin. "What terrifying world strength," thought the professor, staring at the hurricane. It seemed like they were going to end the ritual. At that moment, a strong cultivator raised his head and looked at the strong wind enthusiastically. But then everything fell apart. "How could we fail?" those the old men looking desperate as the vortex disappeared. "We failed." All the old people looked sad and desperate. "We couldn't have failed without reason, there must have been a counter-strength which made us fail," said one of them, frowning. "Those people disturbed us," said an old man, indifferently. Boom, the young man came out of the coffin wearing a black robe. "Forget about it," said the young man, "it's just a ceremony, there's no need to take it too seriously." The crowd nodded. "Lang Yi, we want to use the altar to establish the world bridge on your body so that it could lead you to the vault of heaven. We wanted you to become a world emperor, but we failed. Even so, you will manage to become a world king," said an old man in a solemn and respectful way. He wanted Lang Yi to break through to the Huang Qi layer directly, unlike ordinary people who had to use cosmic energy. Of course. Lang Yi nodded, he was confident in his abilities. He would become a king, and then he would make his clan rise. Lang Yi turned to the crowd and said indifferently, "If the ceremony was interrupted by them, that's life, but it also means that one of them is extremely strong. Not just anyone can break the world ceremony." "Indeed," said an old man, rising in the air. "If you have any problems, solve them now." "Thank you, master," said the young man from the everlasting palace, nodding, and then he looked at Lin Feng. "Hand him over and we'll leave." "Do you think we will abandon our guest of honor because you want him?" asked the professor. "Since you want me to attack, I'll do it," said the young man. Then, he jumped forwards and a light appeared. He disappeared and reappeared above the boat, a gigantic hand forming below him. "Space laceration," shouted the professor in the golden purple clothes. His gigantic, sharp hand moved even faster after he heard the professor. Slash, the gigantic imperial weapon cut the hand in two. However, the enemy had forced his way forwards, now surrounded by dazzling lights. A deployment spell mixed with the empty space cosmic strength, thought Lin Feng. "Meng Qing, if they capture me, stay with you Xin, and don't worry about me." "I don't want you taking any useless risks," said Lin Feng using telepathy. He didn't want to say things like that before Chiu Xin because her other personality could awaken if she heard sad or bad things. Meng Qing looked at Lin Feng nervously. If they capture you, I'll come with you. No, they want the everlasting deployment spells, and there's still a chance that I can get out of that alive. The most important thing for me is that you live, said Lin Feng. Meng Qing replied, all right, but you can't die. While they were talking, a golden light appeared around them and turned into a cage. Those cosmic energies were much stronger than those of a low-level emperor. There was no chance for him to escape now. However, a hand forcefully broke through the cage. Lin Feng and Meng Qing were astonished. An old man was looking at Meng Qing when he said, if you accept to get married with our new prince, I'll help you kill him. Meng Qing started shaking while Lin Feng looked intrigued. Meng Qing was wearing a mask and a plaited bamboo hat, but he wanted her to marry Lang Yi, which meant that they knew what Meng Qing's social status was. What a terrifying clan. Lin Feng came to that conclusion. Impossible. Meng Qing refused. Lang Yi frowned, but one of the old people said, Lang Yi, she's the descendant of a very powerful clan. Which one? Asked Lang Yi. The Snow Clan, replied the old man. Lang Yi frowned. He was a young king, so he knew about the Snow Clan. He had a king body and knew how beneficial the Snow Clan could be for him. Chapter 1665, Guest of Honor. According to legends, their men and women are extremely attractive and possess a celestial qi. I wonder if that's true, said Lang Yi, looking at the old man. Could it be because of her that the ceremony failed? It should be. If she wasn't from the Snow Clan, she couldn't have interrupted our world ceremony, said the old man. But I've heard that to interrupt ceremonies using counter-energy was something only people who had a certain body type could do. Seeing how the Snow Clan have a celestial body, do they possess counter-energy too? Asked another old man, walking towards Meng Qing. I don't understand, said the old man indifferently. Do you have the celestial body of the Snow Clan? Meng Qing's eyes twinkled. Snow Clan. Celestial body. She didn't understand. All she remembered since her birth was having grown up in the small world and then meeting Lin Feng and becoming a human being. She can't agree, said Lin Feng without waiting for Meng Qing to reply. Are you sure? Said the old man indifferently. If she doesn't want to because of you, I'll kill you. We don't need you. Kill us both then, said Meng Qing coldly. The old man looked at Lin Feng calmly. A member of the Snow Clan would die for you, you're so lucky. Which clan are you from? I'm an ordinary person. I don't belong to any powerful group and I have no clan, said Lin Feng in a calm way. Your blood is ordinary indeed. You're incredibly lucky to be with a girl from the Snow Clan. Lang Yi, what do you think? Asked the old man to the young man. Forget about it, I don't like stealing women from other men, said Lang Yi. The old man nodded, then he looked at those who were fighting, the young man and the professor in the golden-purple clothes. Imperial weapons are treasures, but you must know how to use them. If you only use them to block attacks, they're useless. However, if you use them to supplement things you can't do yourself, then they can be useful, explained the old man in a calm way. Stop now. Why do you want to capture him? Asked the old man to the young man. He has received the teachings of the everlasting emperor, so I must bring him back, said the old man. It's your problem if other people receive the teachings from your ancestors. Leave, now, said the old man. The young man looked upset. He had traveled so far and now they asked him to leave without Lin Feng. How could he explain coming back without anything? If you don't leave, would you rather die here? Asked the old man. I'm off then. The young man immediately left. He couldn't offend the World Clan. Phew, the professor took a deep breath and said to the old man, thank you very much, master. Don't thank me. You and your people must leave as well, said the old man, annoyed. Lin Feng didn't understand. Why were those people so strange? They had threatened him a moment before, and then they had expelled the young man from the everlasting palace. "You two, stay here for a while, you're our guests of honor," said the old man to Lin Feng and Meng Qing. Meng Qing and Lin Feng looked extremely surprised. What was going on? The professor in the golden-purple clothes was even more surprised. Snow Clan's people. He hadn't thought that a member of the Snow Clan was with Lin Feng and was disguised as a man. He knew that the women from the Snow Clan were astonishingly beautiful. Lin Feng is very talented, he even killed an emperor with just the strength of the Zun Qi layer. Some incredibly powerful women are with him and apparently, they are a couple. Lin Feng's future will be phenomenally brilliant as long as he doesn't die prematurely, thought the professor. It was only normal that the World Clan had invited Lin Feng and Meng Qing, they wanted to be closer to the Snow Clan by making friends with them. The World Clan had existed for a very long time, so they were proud too. That was why they didn't respect Goldfire Tower. The girl from the Snow Clan was around the same age as Lin Feng and they were also around the same age as Lang Yi, so they could become good friends. Meng Qing looked at Lin Feng, and Lin Feng looked at the old man. If he refused, they could get angry. Besides, Lin Feng was very interested in their clan too. "Thank you for inviting us, but master, she's my wife too, so she must come," Lin Feng said, pointing at Xiao Yuxian. The old man from the World Clan was surprised, but smiled, "All right, of course. Lin Feng, we're going to the vast celestial ancient city, so if you come later, you can still find me," said the professor, then they left with their boat. "Lin Feng," said the old man smiling, "let's go, we rarely receive outsiders." Lin Feng and the others flew in the sky before eventually landing on the ground. There were dark clouds looming overhead, covering the entire mountain range in darkness. The World Clan had done that on purpose because they wanted their territory to be hidden, for it to look like a desolate mountain range. "Lin Feng, what do you think about our clan, the World Clan?" asked the old man. They had arrived in a castle already. "Terrifying," said Lin Feng. Zun cultivators were the weakest cultivators in that place and there were emperors everywhere. "Have you ever been to the Snow Clan?" asked the old man smiling. Lin Feng shook his head, he knew nothing about the Snow Clan. "You must have some information about the Snow Clan, right?" asked the old man to Meng Qing. "Do you want to hear the truth?" asked Meng Qing to the old man. He was surprised and smiled, "What interesting young people. Of course I want to hear the truth." "I've never been to the Snow Clan," said Meng Qing. The old man was astonished. Had she been expelled? Impossible, she had developed a counter-strength which could interrupt their world ceremony. "But do you have the celestial king body of the Snow Clan?" asked the old man. "If you are referring to Xue Ling Long, I do," said Meng Qing. The old man was astonished again, as expected, she had Xue Ling Long's body. But how come she had never been to the Snow Clan? The old man couldn't believe it. However, he quickly thought of a solution. Lang Yi is back, and he hasn't broken through to the Huang Qi layer, thought many people, intrigued. Amongst all those people, there was a young man who was fixedly staring at Lin Feng and the others. "Master, who are they? Why are they allowed here?" asked the young man who looked particularly unhappy. Chapter 1666, World Strength. "Don't worry, we've invited them," replied the old man, smiling, but the few young men didn't look happy. "Since they came as guests of honor, I want to see how strong he is." "I doubt he's even worth having as a guest of honor," said the young man. "And why are they hiding their faces?" "What does that mean?" said a beautiful girl, looking at Meng Qing and Xiao Yuxian. Lin Feng looked at the elders, but they remained silent and smiled indifferently. The elders didn't prevent the young people from being arrogant, they would start traveling soon, so it was good that they were so enthusiastic. The old man liked watching battles between young people the most. He also knew why their young people were so arrogant, it was because they were already proud of being members of the World Clan. Meng Qing and Qiu Yu Xian took off their plated bamboo hats and masks to show their real faces. Many young men gulped down when they saw their faces. How breathtakingly beautiful, especially Meng Qing. The other one looked nice as well, but not as much as Meng Qing. The women of the Snow clan are legendary, especially famous for their beauty. Too bad she already has someone, otherwise, she would have perfect for our clan with her monarchic body, thought the old man. Most women were incredibly beautiful in the World Clan, but when Meng Qing showed her face, those women all looked jealous. Good for nothing, thought a young woman when she saw that the young man next to her kept staring at Meng Qing. Young people, the old man smiled. Lang Yi looked captivated. He looked even more captivated than the other young people. Dong! The young man the girl had called a good-for-nothing jumped into the sky, saying, "Come and fight, we'll see if you deserve being our guest of honor." Lin Feng raised his head and glanced at the 20-year-old man who had already broken through to the 9th Zun Qi layer. "Attack," said the young man indifferently. His robes were fluttering in the wind as a terrifying qi rolled in waves. Lin Feng released demonic energies in return. The young man shook his hands and cyan lights streaked across the sky, and although Lin Feng had used his deadly demon punch, both disappearing. How strong, thought the young man. Even though Lin Feng's attack didn't look dazzling or special, it was powerful. "Continue," said Lin Feng smiling. This time, he raised both hands and demonic energy balls appeared. The young man released lights which moved towards the deadly demon punches. But things didn't look that easy for the young man. Lin Feng's deadly demon punches were very powerful and had destroyed his cyan lights from the inside out. He was being pushed backwards, his facial expression making a change for the worst. That outsider was oppressing him. That guy can have sex with a celestial girl from the Snow clan, and on top of that, she lets him have other women, so it's no surprise that he's extraordinary. His demon energy is already at the maximum level, so an ordinary cultivator of the 9th Zun Qi layer couldn't compete with him, thought the old man. "Your cyan lights are terrifying too, not bad," said Lin Feng calmly. He recalled his deadly demon punches. "Arg!" The young man shouted furiously, running forwards while releasing cyan lights from his left hand and terrifyingly sharp qi from his right hand. Suddenly, Lin Feng raised his hands, having condensed deadly demon punches in his left hand and destructive energies in his right. Break! The ground broke under Lin Feng's feet as he attacked the cyan lights. The sky shook, and slowly, the cyan lights dispersed. He broke the lights, the crowd was surprised. Lin Feng's fist continued moving towards the young man, threatening to take his life. "You're much stronger than I am," said the young man in a calm way. Lin Feng's deadly demon punch disappeared, then he smiled and said, "The strength of your clan is very strange, but it's very powerful. Ordinary people of the same level can't fight against you guys. Indeed, you're an exception, you're even stronger than ordinary people." The young man had accepted Lin Feng's strength. "It's okay to lose, especially if you learn from your mistakes," said the old man indifferently. The young man nodded, and after that, someone else came to Lin Feng. "I want to fight." Lin Feng looked at the old man remained silent and smiled. Lin Feng then looked at his opponent and asked, "Are you ready?" "Let's fight," said the young man in a calm way. However, a terrifying wind immediately started blowing and world lights appeared. However, Lin Feng had vanished. He was already standing above his opponent. That person's mouth twitched, he looked petrified. His world lights faded. He felt even more humiliated, he hadn't even started the fight but had already lost. "If you were my enemy, you'd be dead already," said Lin Feng in a calm way. Wind and empty space strength. The old man from the World Clan was staring at Lin Feng. With that speed, apart from emperors, nobody could defeat Lin Feng. "I underestimated him," thought the old man of the clan. He looked at Lang Yi and smiled. "They can't make him use his full strength, don't you want to try?" "I do," said Lang Yi nodding. He was curious, could that young man, who was in a relationship with the celestial girl of the Snow clan, stand a chance against him? Lang Yi landed in front of Lin Feng. Suddenly, Lin Feng had the feeling that he was facing a gigantic, ancient beast. He possessed the monarchic body of the ancient world clan, so it was obvious that he was a lot stronger than the two young men who Lin Feng had already fought. Chapter 1667, World Strength. Lang Yi is going to fight against him. The crowd looked at the fighters, both looking terrifying. One of them was wearing a white robe, while the other was wearing a black robe. Can he fight against Lang Yi? Asked a young woman to one of the men Lin Feng had defeated. Lang Yi had the monarchic body of the world clan. And he might become the king of the ancient world clan in the future. Among those who were directly related to the blood lineage, nobody could compete with him. He's very strong, and his attacks are powerful, but he can't compete with Lang Yi, said a young man. Nobody had ever seen Lang Yi use his full strength. Right, the young girl nodded. The future monarch of the world clan couldn't lose. Lin Feng's eyes became pitch black as demonic intent emerged from his eyes. Cursing strength also assaulted Lang Yi's eyes. He was surprised, his facial expression changed too. Whoosh! The space seemed to fluctuate around them, then Lang Yi looked strange. His eyes looked to have two vortexes in which were absorbing the demonic intent. The cursing strength also disappeared. He really is strong, he already made Lang Yi use the world vision, thought the young men on the ground. The world vision was a technique that only those of the direct lineage could use, and once the cultivator had experience, they could use their world vision to make people drown in their eyes. Lin Feng watched as his intent was being drained into his Lang Yi's eyes. Then, all sorts of vision attacks assaulted Lin Feng's eyes. Lin Feng slowly walked forwards, fixedly staring at Lang Yi as he released dream energy. Lang Yi was surprised again, now there were different types of strength assaulting him. If he acted carelessly, he could be in danger. Whoosh! Suddenly, Lin Feng moved like the wind and used his deadly demon punch. Lang Yi looked at the fists and space became distorted again. Two deadly demon punches passed next to Lang Yi, but he seemed unfazed. Great Earth Destruction. Lin Feng attacked again. This time, Lang Yi raised his fists and more world lights appeared. Lin Feng's Great Earth Destruction crashed onto the world lights and then his attack became distorted. Lacerate, sword lights rose to the skies and moved towards Lang Yi. World lights emerged from Lang Yi's eyes, the space around the sword lights caused them to move slower and slower until Lang Yi was able to destroy them with his fingers. But Lin Feng didn't stop attacking, he was determined to break through Lang Yi's defenses. He continued releasing more sword energies and used his Great Earth Destruction again, all the while trying to move as quickly as possible. If he gave Lang Yi any time to think, then he would attack. Lang Yi's eyes were twinkling as he suddenly slapped the air in front of him, and then more world lights appeared, along with a coffin. With the coffin, a strong wind started blowing, crashing into Lin Feng, propelling him backwards. His arms felt paralyzed after taking the brunt of that blow. Lang Yi raised his hands and lifted the coffin, condensing his cyan lights. The coffin wasn't an imperial weapon, Lang Yi had just used his mysterious world strength to condense it. Lang Yi's world strength is incredible, no wonder he has the monarchic body of the world clan, thought the crowd. Lang Yi threw his gigantic coffin, which was surrounded by King Qi, at Lin Feng. He hadn't just used cyan lights, he could also use pure, aggressive world strength. Lin Feng released more sword energy, and in front of him, a long and heavy sword condensed. That sword was 3 meters long and contained a heavy type of energy. Lin Feng held it in both his hands as he ran forwards. The two fighters got closer and closer, before finally, the cyan coffin and the gigantic sword collided. A terrifying vortex of energies appeared causing the coffin and the sword to break apart. But after the coffin, it turned into a terrifying beast which continued moving towards Lin Feng. Lin Feng moved back using the wind while Lang Yi continued releasing world lights. Is that the power that cultivators of the World Clan have? Can they make new worlds before having broken through to the Huang Qi layer, thought Lin Feng. Use your most powerful attack and show us how strong you really are, said Lang Yi. Then, his blood started boiling and terrifying world lights rose to the skies, moving in all directions. A shadow appeared behind Lang Yi, it a shadow of himself, but he was gigantic and looked like a king. It seems like he can already make parallel worlds and imprison people inside them, thought the elders of the clan. They were very happy. At the same level, nobody could fight with him, but because Lin Feng's speed was so incredible, Lang Yi still couldn't defeat him easily. Don't dodge, I won't imprison you, I just want to see your most powerful attack, said Lang Yi, condensing more cyan lights. His attack had turned into a gigantic cyan world coffin, with a world forming inside. Alright, don't hold back either then, otherwise this will be boring, said Lin Feng, nodding calmly. The members of the World Clan looked startled. Humph. That guy is just acting arrogant. If Lang Yi uses his full strength, Lin Feng would definitely die, said a young woman. Arrogant bastard, is he implying that Lang Yi's attacks are not powerful enough? Alright, I'll do as you wish, said Lang Yi, just as calmly. A terrifying king formed behind him and his cyan coffin started blotting out the sky. His spirit can leave his body. Lin Feng realized. Many emperors couldn't do that, but Lang Yi could. A demon king appeared behind Lin Feng, it looked like an ancient demon. Lin Feng raised his hands and a black sword appeared. Even when facing such monstrous world strength, he didn't flinch. Ha! The crowd sensed the terrifying sword and demon energies coming from Lin Feng. Die, shouted Lang Yi furiously. A terrifying world strength emerged from the coffin, seeming capable of destroying anything in its path. Attack, shouted Lin Feng furiously. Black lights rose to the skies as Lin Feng also released his sword energies. Slash! The gigantic black sword streaked across the sky and crashed onto the coffin, instantly causing some cracks to form. Then the sword pierced through it and destroyed the world's strength. Lang Yi was amazed. He shook his hands and said, "Come back." The cyan coffin dispersed and moved back into his body. The terrifying World King also disappeared, leaving just Lin Feng and Lang Yi staring at each other. The atmosphere was eerily silent, even the elders of the World Clan were dumbstruck. How strong, after a long time, Lang Yi said those two words and smiled. You're the second person I've met who's that terrifying. Lang Yi was looking at Lin Feng in a respectful way. Chapter 1668, World Clan, just who is he? How come he can defeat Lang Yi, thought the crowd. They didn't understand. No wonder those three peoples were guests of honor in their World Clan. Even the elders of the clan were happy with their decision to invite Lin Feng and them in. That boy must have a special body, thought one of the elders of the World Clan. He walked forwards and smiled, Lin Feng, has a very powerful group of people sent you? Lin Feng looked at the old man, he didn't trust him. I was born in a small place, and I have a special body which allows me to understand 10 different sorts of abstruse energies, but I only started benefiting from the body recently. I really come from an unknown family, said Lin Feng. The old man was aghast, a body which allows you to understand 10 different types of abstruse energies, no wonder I sensed so many different types in your last sword attack, which was perfect I should add. The old man nodded, Lang Yi uses world strength, and he already has the strength of a low-level emperor with it. You managed to destroy his coffin, which means that you can already destroy low-level emperors' small worlds. Now Lin Feng understood what it meant, with his world strength, Lang Yi could make a small world as resistant as the small world of a low-level emperor. That was the reason why Lang Yi could already make small worlds even though he hadn't broken through to the Huang Qi layer. No wonder such a beautiful woman from the Snow Clan fell in love with you. You're strong, you are smart, and you have a body which allows you to understand 10 different sorts of abstruse energies. You and the members of the World Clan should become friends and exchange views on cultivation, said the old man who was still smiling. I really don't deserve so much praise, master, replied Lin Feng politely. The old man shook his hands and smiled. Lin Feng, in the future, you must become even stronger, otherwise you won't be able to protect your wives. You can't imagine how strong the Snow Clan is. Lin Feng frowned. The Snow Clan was a mysterious and ancient animal clan. They were really scary, but why had Meng Qing, a girl who had the celestial body of the Snow Clan, ended up in a small world? The only reason was known by Mother Master. Master, how strong is the Snow Clan? Asked Lin Feng. You can't imagine. They are going through a flourishing period now, while for us, times are ominous, said the old man. With the strength of the ancient World Clan, they must be even stronger than the everlasting palace. I only know a little bit about them, so I can't even imagine how powerful ancient clans are, thought Lin Feng. Besides, many people want the ancient scriptures of the Snow Clan. If Meng Qing doesn't fight, people won't pay much attention to her, but if she fights for real, some very strong cultivators will guess what her real social status is and will chase her. If the Snow Clan doesn't protect her, she can't travel freely, and if she encounters other animal clans, things might get dangerous for her, said the old man. Lin Feng stopped him and asked, what do you mean, master? If she accepts, she can practice cultivation here. Besides, our strong cultivators will also help her become stronger. They can even guarantee her safety when she travels, said the old man. Lin Feng frowned. He didn't understand what the old man meant. Was he trying to make Meng Qing join their clan? The old man saw that Lin Feng looked skeptical and said, Lin Feng, you are guests of honor here and you are extremely strong. Lang Yi and you should become friends. I wanted him to go and travel, so you could travel with him while Meng Qing could stay here in the World Clan with us. Wouldn't it be a great relief if she was safe here? With my social status, nobody can harm her. It would be a win-win relationship. After all, if the World Clan wants to rise again, we have to collaborate with other people too. Of course, if you don't accept, I won't force you. It's just a proposition. After all, having the celestial body of the Snow Clan grants her a very special social status. Lin Feng now understood. If the World Clan helped Meng Qing, it would be very beneficial for her. After all, the World Clan was an ancient clan like the Snow Clan. Therefore, Lin Feng was relieved. Meng Qing had no way to become stronger if she stayed with Lin Feng, and with her talent, it would be a pity if she stopped progressing. Wouldn't you be worried about Lang Yi's safety if he went traveling? Asked Lin Feng. Lang Yi has treasures from the World Clan to protect him in case of danger. Besides, not many people would dare attack a young man from the World Clan who has the king body of the clan, replied the old man. Lin Feng, I understand you. Lang Yi and Meng Qing's situations are different. Lang Yi has our king body while the World Clan raises him, but in her case, things are different because she has the queen body of the Snow Clan but she has never been to the Snow Clan. I may be wrong, but I'm convinced it must have something to do with the internal situation of the Snow Clan. I imagine things could get dangerous for her if she continued traveling with you. She isn't Meng Qing's biological mother, she might just be a servant of the Snow Clan, and her role was only to protect and take care of Meng Qing, thought Lin Feng. You can think about what he said. I can guarantee you that our clan won't harm her, and that she'll be happy here, said Lang Yi. Let us talk about it first. Lin Feng was looking at Meng Qing. If they were right, then Meng Qing's social status made the situation more complex than they had expected. If the World Clan meant them harm, then letting her stay there would be problematic. Lin Feng had to travel and go to the main cities to improve, but that would make the situation even more dangerous for Meng Qing. Of course, you can stay here for a few days, you're our guest of honor, so you can do whatever you want in the World Clan. If you want to leave together, Lang Yi can come with you as well. Our young king should travel nonetheless, said the old man smiling. Lang Yi, take them for a walk and show them around. All right. Lang Yi nodded. Lin Feng, it's the first time you're here, so I'll show you the world my world clan fabricated. Thank you very much, said Lin Feng cheerfully. He'll soon break through to the Huang Qi layer, then he would definitely make his own world. With their strength, the world clan had probably created an extraordinary small world. Go. Lang Yi rose up in the air, then Lin Feng and the girls followed him. The old man watched as Lin Feng and the others left. You really want to raise the celestial girl of the Snow Clan? Asked one of the old men. Of course, we've been silent for so many years and now she shows up. It's still not enough though. Lang Yi also needs friends, the world clan needs friends. Lin Feng has a body which allows him to understand 10 different types of abstruse energies, and he's also extremely proficient at using them. In the future, he'll become incredible. Although he still has a long way to go, imagine in 1,000 years, he might just be a public figure of the continent. What about the Snow Clan? Asked another one. We need to be sincere. We need to make efforts to raise the girl too, even if we fail, she'll still be grateful, said the old man. The others said nothing. Chapter 1669, Decision. Lin Feng had just arrived in their castle and he could already see that there were innumerable powerful cultivators. After some time, he realized that even if the world clan was extremely powerful compared with other groups, they still had some weaker people. Their blood had been transmitted from generation to generation over a long period of time, so it had naturally weakened. Only the one with the king-type body would have a powerful bloodline. Lang Yi, your clan controls world strength, but do they use other types of strength as well? Asked Lin Feng. Lin Feng and Lang Yi had become acquaintances already, so he felt comfortable asking this question. Of course, we do. But I have the king body of the world clan, so my other types of strength aren't very good because I mostly practice world cultivation. Many people here also study other types of strength though. It's very convenient for world cultivation, you'll see. Lang Yi replied cheerfully. People who are not from the world clan cannot use world strength to the degree that we can, sometimes they can't control it at all, said Lang Yi, sounding self-confident. Back then, when my clan was prosperous and powerful, one of my ancestors, a peerless cultivator, had celestial world creation powers. Many small worlds have been created by my ancestors. A peerless cultivator, how strong, thought Lin Feng. When the world clan was prosperous and powerful, it was probably terrifying. The group continued running until Lin Feng felt things getting very hot. What's going on? Lin Feng asked. Come with me and you'll understand, said Lang Yi, smiling. Sun. Lin Feng frowned, it was as if a gigantic sun was nearing them. Lin Feng raised his head and looked up at the sun. Above them, there were more suns than there should be. Finally, Lin Feng and the others arrived in front of those suns, high in the sky. What's that? Asked Lin Feng. A world which has been created by one of our ancestors. It's the sun world, we also have ice worlds and so on. Our strong cultivators use cosmic energies and special powers to create these worlds. Lang Yi explained calmly. This small world contains terrifying fire energies. If you were to put one of those suns in a city, it could destroy it entirely, and if you used the world strength from this world, you could carry out terrifying attacks. Do you want to go and see the other worlds? Asked Lang Yi, but Lin Feng shook his head. I want to stay here for a few days and then I'll come back to you, is that all right? Lin Feng asked. All right, I'll wait for you in the city where we were. Don't forget what the elders told you, said Lang Yi. Then, he turned around and left looking carefree. Lin Feng looked at Meng Qing and smiled. Meng Qing, what do you think? Lin Feng, you must want me to stay in the world clan, right? Said Meng Qing. She knew what Lin Feng was thinking, he was worried about her and her safety. If you stay with me and do nothing, you won't progress at all. And the World Clan said it themselves, you have the celestial body of the Snow Clan, so traveling is dangerous for you. I think you should stay here and I would come and see you whenever I could, said Lin Feng, smiling. Meng Qing smiled and nodded, all right, I will always listen to you. Meng Qing didn't want to stay away from Lin Feng, but she couldn't protect him like in the past. She would become a burden if she stayed with him all the time. Since she had the celestial body of the Snow Clan, she had to cherish her body and become strong and, in the future, then Lin Feng and Meng Qing would be a better team. They also had to learn about her memories. What was wrong with her memory? Why couldn't she remember some things? At least in the World Clan, she would be free. If she missed him too much, she might be able to go and see him. Lin Feng caressed Meng Qing's face and smiled. He hoped that the World Clan would help her become stronger. He had kept Meng Qing with him like that for so many years, but it was a mistake. She could have become much stronger if she had been in a better environment. Lin Feng raised his head and his Tianji sword appeared. It immediately started moving around in the Sun world. The Tianji sword had endured millions of attacks to become that powerful, however, it was still just a soul. Lin Feng's soul grew along with the sword's soul. That world was filled with sun fire, which was perfect to cleanse his sword with. I'll go and see. Lin Feng rose up in the air and flew towards the sun. The sun began to burn him, but as he got closer, he noticed someone practicing cultivation and swallowing the strength of the sun fire. Lin Feng forgot about everything, then he closed his eyes and sat down on the sun. He practiced cultivation together with his Tianji sword. On the 7th day, Lin Feng left the Sun world. In the meanwhile, Wuxia and Meng Qing were together walking in the World Clan's kingdom. Lin Feng found some special worlds, such as sometimes, he jumped into waterfalls and realized that another world was behind them. Sometimes, he walked on a mountain and suddenly found himself in another world. Lin Feng couldn't sense those energies because he hadn't broken through to the Huang Qi layer yet. People could imprison him in such a world and they really wanted to. Lin Feng and the girls visited the World Clan's territory, taking in the mountains, rivers, and beautiful sceneries. After that, they went back to the castle of the kingdom and looked for the elders and Lang Yi. Lin Feng, did you make a decision? Asked the elder. If you're all leaving now, Lang Yi can come with you. Master, please take care of my wife, Meng Qing, said Lin Feng, bowing before the old man. Lin Feng had to be very polite, especially considering that they were going to take care of Meng Qing. All right, you don't have to worry, even though we are not as strong as before, we have existed for a very long time. We will do our best to make the celestial girl stronger, as if she was part of our family, said the elder. Thank you, Master. I'll pay you back someday if I can. Just become strong, said the elder smiling. Lin Feng, do you want to leave now or wait a few more days? I want to leave now, said Lin Feng. All right, Lang Yi, go and travel with Lin Feng. Don't come back if there's nothing important happening, said the elder. Some strong cultivators from the World Clan would follow him everywhere secretly, so he had nothing to fear. Chapter 1670, Moon Imperial Palace. Thousands of meters away from the World Clan, 3 people were riding a sword. Lin Feng was one of them, but he was silent. Next to him was Qiu Yuxian, who was holding his hand and caressing it. She knew that Lin Feng had been through a lot with Meng Qing and that she couldn't replace her. This time, Lin Feng was very sad to leave her behind. The World Clan will not disappoint you, said Lang Yi. He knew that Lin Feng was sad. I decided to let her stay there, and I trust the World Clan. This isn't something I could avoid, said Lin Feng, smiling. Lang Yi nodded. This time, we're going to the vast celestial ancient city, which is one of the 18 main cities of the region of the Dark Night. We'll find many strong cultivators there, so we need to remain determined and practice cultivation diligently. We need to break through to the Huang Qi layer as soon as possible. Lin Feng smiled but didn't talk much. He knew Lang Yi was right. Lin Feng's Tianji sword was extremely fast. Of course, it couldn't compare to the boat, so they'd have to spend more time traveling. While on the sword, they practiced cultivation and looked at the landscapes. There were many tribes, cities, beautiful landscapes, clouds. Sometimes, people glanced at them, but Lin Feng and the others just ignored them. The vast celestial ancient city was one of the 18 main cities of the region, so there were many powerful sects and clans there. Outside of the ancient city, there was an old lake where the water was always calm. At that moment, outside of the vast celestial ancient city, near the gigantic lake, the sound of music wafted through the air. Someone was playing the zither. With the pavilions, boats, and people who were nicely dressed, the scene resembled a painting. Above the water, Lin Feng and the two others were still riding the sword. Those people know how to enjoy themselves, whispered Lin Feng. He heard music, people's conversations and laughter. It was great. The musician looks relaxed, but I'm sure he is extremely determined. Lin Feng knew music, so he could easily determine what the sound waves contained. He's determined, he's a real professional, whispered Lang Yi, opening his eyes. Then, he walked towards the center of the lake. Vast celestial ancient city. Lin Feng gazed into the distance, then he looked at Qiu Yuxian and smiled. Let's go and see. The landscape is incredible, thought Lin Feng. He glanced around, noticing a group of beautiful women dancing. Lin Feng sighed. Those beautiful women were extremely strong. They were all cultivators at the top of the Zhong Qi layer. The moon in the celestial sky. Going to the city, one dance. Lin Feng listened to someone singing. He turned around and saw a young man. That young man was wearing white clothes and was playing his instrument with 10 fingers. I really don't deserve so much praise, thank you, said one of the women when she saw that everybody was looking at her with admiration. Beautiful and talented, said a young man. He looked elegant and smiled thinly. How are things at the Moon Imperial Palace? When I have time, I'll have to come and visit. Mr. Bai, would you like to join the Moon Palace? Asked the woman. From her eyes, she seemed to look surprised. If you let me join the Moon Clan, I wouldn't refuse, said the young man, smiling. The Moon Imperial Palace had disappeared for 1,000 years and now they were back playing music and dancing. That woman proved they hadn't disappeared completely. The young men around them were all famous, so when they heard that young man, they knew that the Moon Imperial Palace was still in existence. The Moon Imperial Palace. Lang Yi repeated. Even though the Moon Imperial Palace wasn't as strong as the World Clan, they were very famous in the vast celestial ancient city, known for their many beautiful women. Lin Feng didn't understand much about influential groups in the vast celestial ancient city. He had the impression that the Moon Imperial Palace couldn't be compared with the Moon Palace in his previous life. In 3 days, we'll come back to the vast celestial ancient city, said the girl. She slowly stopped playing and took her instrument back. After a short time, the girls disappeared. Nobody thought it was strange. They're gaining power again, said Lang Yi. Even though the Phoenix Pavilion had disappeared, they never stopped playing the zither. Some people accelerated on their boats toward some distant music. Then, some music talismans appeared, causing waves to roll in the lakes, almost sinking some boats. A terrifying qi appeared in the air, and then the waves stopped. People could still hear the zither from the talismans. They each turned into golden imprints. One young man got closer and the deadly energies turned into destructive energies. As the young man was inside those energies, all the talismans broke apart around him. Boom, the talismans exploded, sinking the boat, and throwing qi out in all directions. Those people are enthusiastic, thought Lin Feng smiling. Many young people from the vast celestial ancient city are here, and they want to fight. Some of them plan to go to the Moon Imperial Palace in a few days, said someone. Strength is strength, it's the most important thing in this world, said Lin Feng, laughing indifferently. That person looked upset when he heard Lin Feng. Lang Yi looked at him in a deep and profound way, causing that person to shudder unconsciously. Let's go to the ancient city, said Lang Yi, rising in the sky. The lake was just on their path, initially. However, as they flew away, a strength suddenly emerged. They heard zither and an ancient music getting louder. Suddenly, imprints moved towards them at full speed. Lang Yi shook his hands and a terrifying strength appeared, containing world lights. The space around them became distorted as a vortex appeared, which surrounded everyone. How strong, the crowd was wide-eyed. The World Clan, whispered the musicians, smiling. Things were going to be fun this time at the vast celestial ancient city. Chapter 1671, The Heaven Clan. Vast celestial ancient city was enormous, filled with many heroic cultivators. The sect of the ancient capital resembled an ancient beast which opened its mouth towards the sky. Lin Feng and the others were in the ancient capital city sightseeing. Vast celestial ancient city had many different influential groups, therefore, there was a high demand for beautiful architectural projects. People wanted lofty, original, creative buildings for their groups. Lin Feng, you were the one who wanted to go to vast celestial ancient city, so was there somewhere in particular you wanted to go, asked Lang Yi. There is one place but it's not the right time to go, but if there is an opportunity, I'll go, said Lin Feng indifferently. Apart from becoming stronger, he had another goal for coming to vast celestial ancient city. Alright, good. Let's go and find a master, we'll know more about the city and everything if we ask them, said Lang Yi. He had a king body, so he was a master too. Lang Yi was from the World Clan, and their friends were all terrifying groups of influence who thought highly of Lang Yi. Alright, said Lin Feng. He wasn't going to refuse. Since he was in vast celestial ancient city, why not hang out with the strong cultivators? Lang Yi was young and had traveled a lot in the past. He hadn't stayed in the World Clan the whole time. In the past, he used to hide his true identity whilst traveling, but now, he decided to travel with the status of a king. The Heaven Clan, one of the existences in vast celestial ancient city, one who has been there for a very long time. They were an ancient clan, like the World Clan. Because those clans had existed for so long, they used to be called ancient clans and they had habits and customs which were seen throughout history. Some ancient clans were also called holy clans, which meant that they had a holy great emperor. At that moment, Lang Yi and Lin Feng were in the Heaven Clan. Lang Yi told Lin Feng a few of these things about the Heaven Clan before they arrived. Lin Feng and the others were in the periphery of the Heaven Clan. At the very entrance, there were guards of which adorned white gloves, armors, and were all cultivators at the top of the Zun Qi layer. In the small worlds, cultivators at the top of the Zun Qi layer are incredible cultivators, but in the Heaven Clan, cultivators at the top of the Zun Qi layer are simply guards, thought Lin Feng, smiling wryly. Tell Master Tsang Ling that Lang Yi is here and came to see him, said Lang Yi to the guard. One of guards frowned and looked at them coldly. Tsang Ling was their current leader, so who would dare ask to see him? But when he saw Lang Yi's imposing appearance and that Lin Feng and Qiu Yu Xian also looked extraordinary, the guard didn't try to offend them. People who pronounced their leader's name like that could be from terrifying influential groups or disciples of holy clans. Please wait a moment, said a guard, glancing at them before he went back into the territory of the clan. That person had just entered the core territory of the Heaven Clan when the group of young people appeared. The guards frowned and looked at Lang Yi and the others, so they really were from an incredible clan, at least it must be the case considering that the most incredible disciples of Heaven Clan came out. The one in the front was wearing clean, thin clothes, he looked nice yet rigid. Amongst cultivators of the Zun Qi layer and under, he was the most outstanding one, Zhang Shao. The others with him were all core disciples too, but they still hadn't broken through to the Huang Qi layer, just like Lang Yi. The leader of the clan talks about you all the time, Lang Yi, I'm happy to see you, said Song Xiao, smiling in a warm way. He walked to them and said, Brother Lang Yi, you came from so far away, please come in. The leader has already started preparing everything for a party. Then, Lin Feng and Qiu Yuxian smiled and nodded. They didn't say anything, and since they were with Lang Yi, they were also guests of honor. Song Xiao, said Lang Yi. I wouldn't have thought that you'd remember me, said Song Xiao, walking ahead. The guard sighed. The Heaven clan was an ancient holy clan, so it was no surprise that their territory looked incredible. There was a flight of stairs with 108 steps. There was a vast area with tables and alcohol waiting for them at the top. Little Yi, said the leader, Song Ling, smiling at Lang Yi and the others. Lin Feng didn't sense any of his qi, so he couldn't see his cultivation level either. Long time no see, you are an incredible host, said Lang Yi, smiling back. The two organizers of the banquet smiled, Master, you're too polite. Come, we're happy to have you here in the Heaven clan, said Song Ling, smiling. He pointed at a seat just under the leader's seat, reserved for guests of honor. Lang Yi nodded and walked there. Lin Feng wanted to follow but Song Xiao came to them and said, You too, come with me. Lin Feng was surprised, Lang Yi wanted to say something, but Lin Feng smiled and said, All right. He already knew he couldn't sit with them, after all, he wasn't from the ancient world clan like Lang Yi. He nodded at Lang Yi and Lang Yi didn't say anything. He walked to his seat as Song Xiao took Lin Feng and Qiu Yuxian to a place where most other young people from the Heaven clan also sat. A beautiful woman was seated above Lin Feng. She faced Song Xiao, as if they had the same social status. My name is Song Yu, what is yours? Asked the girl to Lin Feng, smiling in a gentle way. Lin Feng. Are you from the World Clan as well? Asked Song Yu. Lin Feng shook his head and said, I'm not. You're not. Song Yi looked surprised and said, How come you were with Lang Yi? We met on the way and decided to travel together, said Lin Feng. Then which ancient clan are you from? Asked Song Yu. Lin Feng understood what was going on, he had been placed there because they wanted to learn more about him, and it was easier if a girl asked him these questions. I'm an ordinary cultivator, not from any ancient clans, said Lin Feng smiling. Then, he downed his glass. Song Yu laughed when she saw that but didn't ask anything more. At that moment, Song Ling and Lang Yi were chatting. The Moon Imperial Palace are making a reappearance in vast celestial ancient city, so they will probably rise again. Their people are about your age I think. They have disappeared over 1,000 years, so many ancient scriptures disappeared with them, replied Lang Yi. Of course. The Moon Imperial Palace had incredible disciples, and they had many ancient scriptures. They had some very powerful ones at that. Some of the better ones they had was the incredible shattering and destructive holy scriptures, said Song Ling smiling. They're just not determined enough, said Lang Yi calmly. Many people think that. Of course, Lang Yi, you're from the World Clan, so you're better than most, said Song Ling smiling. The young people from the Moon Imperial Palace had indeed hurt many outstanding people, but they had their reasons. In the past, the Moon Imperial Palace had offended a holy clan, thus forcing them to disappear for 1,000 years. Chapter 1672, In the middle of the night nothing happened during the banquet, Lin Feng just listened to people and tried to learn more about vast celestial ancient city. Since he was there, he had to understand the customs of the city, and who the strongest groups in the city were. Lin Feng wasn't Lang Yi, he didn't have a dazzling background, so nobody talked to him except for Song Yu who only exchanged a few sentences with him. After the banquet, Song Ling took Lang Yi around the Heaven clan. He had also prepared a place for Lin Feng and Lang Yi to stay. Brother Lang Yi, did you know that the Moon Imperial Palace came back to the Moon Imperial Palace? They haven't appeared here for 1,000 years, so they might be strong now. They might also have beautiful women, maybe you could find yourself one there, said Song Xiao. Since they're here, we should get to know them, said Lang Yi calmly. I think so too. Some other young people from other holy clans are sure to come, so you should meet them too, said Song Xiao. Has anyone from the Chu clan broken through to the Huang Qi layer? Asked Lang Yi. Song Xiao knew why Lang Yi asked that. The Chu clan and the Heaven clan were both holy clans, and even though the strongest young man they had possessed the intent of an emperor, he didn't have a king body. Not yet. I've heard that the Chu clan has prepared 72 emperors' intent for him so that he can break through to the Huang Qi layer though, said Song Xiao. Lang Yi nodded indifferently. No need to stay with us all the time, said Lang Yi, indicating that he wanted to rest. Song Xiao smiled and nodded, if you need anything, just ask me. Make yourself at home. All right, said Lang Yi nodding. Lin Feng interjected, can we get a map? We don't understand vast celestial ancient city. Song Xiao glanced at Lin Feng and smiled. He released his godly awareness and transferred a map to Lin Feng. Thank you very much, said Lin Feng. You're welcome, replied Song Xiao, then he said to Lang Yi, I'm off. When Song Xiao left, Lang Yi smiled at Lin Feng and said, do you want to go to town? I do, I'd love to visit the ancient capital. Besides, I don't like it when there are so many people with me all the time, said Lin Feng. I'll come with you, said Lang Yi. There's no need, I'll just have a walk and come back, said Lin Feng politely. Lang Yi was surprised, he didn't understand. He smiled but asked nothing. Lin Feng had things to do in vast celestial ancient city apparently, but he also said he'd come back, so there was no need to worry. If you need anything, just call me, said Lang Yi, then he left. Lin Feng smiled at Qiu Yuxian and said, go to the room and have a rest. I'll come back late tonight. Vast celestial ancient city was a lot larger than celestial Qi castle, so if Lin Feng wanted to cross the city, a few days still wouldn't be enough. Luckily, the place he wanted to go wasn't too far. All right. Qiu Yuxian nodded and went to a room. Lin Feng started leaving. Brother Lin, where are you going? Asked Song Yu, she was smiling as always. I've never seen the city, so I want to travel around, said Lin Feng. I can come with you, said Song Yu. There's no need, I'm used to traveling alone, said Lin Feng as he accelerated. Song Yu frowned. An ancient imprint trailed behind her as she accelerated. Brother Lin, why wouldn't you want a beautiful woman next to you? Song Yu asked. I told you, I'm used to it, said Lin Feng. Then, he moved exceptionally fast, holy marks even appeared behind him. He was trying to get rid of Song Yu. Song Yu could only watch as Lin Feng disappeared into the distance. She stopped and smiled, that guy is so fast. I wonder how strong he is. Lin Feng left the Heaven clan and went to the southwestern part of the city. Even though he traveled with incredible speed, most people didn't even care about him because there were too many strong cultivators already there, that young man was just a pedestrian to them. Later that night, Lin Feng stopped and looked at his surroundings. It was hard to imagine that there could be such an abandoned area in vast celestial ancient city. It must be here, thought Lin Feng, glancing around. He had stopped at some ruins which seemingly hadn't been lived in for quite some time. Lin Feng slowly walked towards the ancient palaces, noting a demonic energy there. Stop, said someone at that moment. He turned around and saw a middle-aged person. He said, you're still too young, you can't go there. Many people die there, so you shouldn't go. Then, the middle-aged man left. Lin Feng shivered, that person was an emperor. Ancient mysteries, thought Lin Feng. He could sense deployment energies, so maybe there was an illusion ahead. It is probably the everlasting celestial emperor's memories that I'm thinking of, thought Lin Feng. Unfortunately, he didn't know if he could go there or not, he just knew that it was there. Lin Feng continued getting closer. At the same time, his eyes slowly turned black and he began to look like a demon. He looked at the palace, but he couldn't see inside because it was surrounded by pitch-black energies. It seemed that even with his pitch-black eyes, it wasn't enough. Go! Lin Feng shook his hands and an illusion-like mountain descended from the sky, making the ground quake some. Suddenly, Lin Feng sensed a coldness surround him, and then demon lights appeared inside the darkness. Who's inside? Thought Lin Feng. Those eyes looked like they belonged to a young person. Nobody replied to him and the eyes disappeared. Lin Feng was sure that somebody was inside. Quickly, Lin Feng sensed a hand filled with death energy moving towards him. He moved back at full speed, but the death chi was quick to surround him. Life. Lin Feng released life energy and continued moving backwards. He also released sword energies to break the death chi apart. However, the energies which had already invaded his body were starting to corrode him from the inside out. Lin Feng continued moving back until he was very far away, feeling a bit relieved. He took a deep breath and absorbed the death energy from a distance. Who's that? Even though his death strength is powerful, it's not a strength I can't block. However, I don't know how strong that person really is, thought Lin Feng. Chapter 1673, Celestial Evolution Holy Clan. But that person could go inside, which meant they were at least outstanding. I can't go in, it's too dangerous. I'll have to think about it some before I come back, thought Lin Feng. He initially just intended to scout it out anyways. Maybe he could ask Lang Yi about it. I wonder who's inside though, whispered Lin Feng. Then, his silhouette flickered and he went back to the Heaven Clan. Lang Yi was outside his room, his eyes were closed and he was absorbing strength of the earth and the sky as world energies surrounded him. Lin Feng landed next to him, making him open his eyes and say, "You came back." "I did." Lin Feng nodded and then sat down next to him and asked, "Do you know anything about the Celestial Evolution Holy Clan?" Celestial Evolution Holy Clan. Lang Yi looked surprised. "Of course I do. 1,000 years ago, they were a very aggressive holy clan in vast celestial ancient city. Unfortunately, they were destroyed back then. Their territory still exists here, but there's nothing left besides ruins." He was surprised that Lin Feng mentioned such a group. He had learnt from some memories that the everlasting Celestial Emperor had obtained some things from the Celestial Evolution Holy Clan, and then had become a great emperor afterwards. Of course, many people want to get the ancient scriptures of the Celestial Evolution Holy Clan, even some holy clans. The Celestial Evolution Holy Clan didn't study any ancient scriptures but the evolution scriptures. Lang Yi continued to explain. "If the Celestial Evolution Holy Clan was so strong, who destroyed it?" asked Lin Feng. "Everything is a mystery now, but according to rumors, it could be the Three Lives Great Emperor," said Lang Yi. Lin Feng unconsciously shivered. The Three Lives Great Emperor. He knew so much about him already. Few people know how strong he really was, and nobody knows how old he is. "Most people don't even know who he is," said Lang Yi after he saw that Lin Feng looked confused. Lin Feng remained silent. He had the Three Live Scriptures with him, so he already knew how terrifying they were. If anyone knew he had the Three Live Scriptures, they wouldn't hesitate to kill him. Even in this world, most people don't know who he is, thought Lin Feng. "I'll practice the Three Live Scriptures, and I'll make sure that nobody knows about me either," thought Lin Feng. "Why are you asking me about the Celestial Evolution Holy Clan?" asked Lang Yi. "In the Dark Night region, a Celestial Emperor received deployment strength from someone there, which is why I came to vast celestial ancient city," explained Lin Feng. "The Celestial Evolution Holy Clan has disappeared for so long, but you still received something concerning them. That's interesting," said Lang Yi smiling. "Yesterday evening, I went there, and I noticed that there was someone hiding inside," said Lin Feng. "That's even more interesting. Considering the Moon Imperial Palace are showing themselves, and now someone appeared inside the Celestial Evolution Holy Clan," whispered Lang Yi. What was the link between the Moon Imperial Palace and the Celestial Evolution Holy Clan? No idea, but 1,000 years ago, the rumors said that the Moon Imperial Palace and the Celestial Evolution Holy Clan were close to each other, that the Moon Imperial Palace had obtained powerful ancient scriptures, the Evolution Holy Scriptures. Lang Yi said. Indeed, that's interesting, whispered Lin Feng. The Three Lives Great Emperor, the Moon Imperial Palace, the Celestial Evolution Holy Clan, something linked those groups. Of course, it's just interesting, nothing more. This morning, Zhang Xiao came by and said that some monstrously strong cultivators from the other main cities are on their way to vast celestial ancient city too. Some of them even have terrifying body types, said Lang Yi to Lin Feng excitedly. Lin Feng could tell that Lang Yi wanted to fight, which made him smile. King body type, there can't be that many people with king body types in the Dark Knight region, whispered Lin Feng. He realized that Jun Mo Shi's imperial immortal body was something unheard of in the small world, so the people there didn't value him as much as they would here. I wonder how Jun Mo Shi is doing. It's been so many years, he must be so far, thought Lin Feng. He had been in the great world for 7-8 years already. And what about Yu? If she misses me, why doesn't she look for me, thought Lin Feng, sighing. She was only interested in cultivation, so she couldn't stay with friends all the time. Lin Feng didn't leave for 2 more days. He stayed with Wuxia and they didn't do much besides cultivating and relaxing in the room. Lin Feng was worried when Wuxia became controlled by her other personality, he almost felt scared of her at times. On that day, at the main city gate of vast celestial ancient city, a young man was standing at the top, gazing into the distance. He was surrounded by 360 ancient imprint lights which contained a terrifying strength. At the same time, in the ancient capital, there were scorching suns which forced people to raise their heads and squint their eyes. In another place, someone else appeared, he was surrounded by a grey chi which acted as a fog, cloaking him along with his black robe. All sorts of people landed in vast celestial ancient city. They came from places all over the region of Dark Knight. Outside of the city, above the lake, a silhouette appeared wearing a Taoist robe, with the demeanor of a transcendent being. He didn't seem to be a Taoist monk though, his look seemed fierce and aggressive like a warrior. Good heavens, the Taoist smiled and continued flying towards the center of vast celestial ancient city. Chapter 1674, Many strong cultivators together outside of a room in the Heaven Clan, Lang Yi and Lin Feng were gazing into the distance. They watched some silhouettes land by a lake inside the Heaven Clan territory. After a short time, Zhang Xiao came to Lin Feng and Lang Yi, smiling at Lang Yi and saying, "The Moon Imperial Palace has appeared by Ice Moon Lake. Let's go." Lang Yi nodded and followed. Lin Feng looked back at the room to Wuxia. Lin Feng nodded at Wuxia, then he also left with the others. Wuxia watched them disappear, looking sad. The feeling is getting more intense, will she appear, thought Wuxia after she sensed the terrifying mercilessness energy around her. The Ice Moon Lake was a gigantic lake in vast celestial ancient city. The water resembled a moon, and it was ice-cold, hence the name. In a pavilion near the lake, there were some beautiful women dancing, looking like illusions. The crowd listened to the music and saw a silhouette approaching in the distance, that person was holding a zither. Prince Qin Shan, the crowd recognized the prince. Prince Qin Shan wasn't very strong, he hadn't even broken through to the Huang Qi layer yet, but he was famous in vast celestial ancient city. Qin Shan landed by the lake, he had his 10 fingers resting on his instrument, celestial creatures dancing, I would like to enjoy the show from inside the pavilion. Someone laughed, Prince, don't be too impatient, the celestial beings need to dress up first. When a free boat comes by, you can have your fun then. Alright, good. I can't wait, said Qin Shan in a gentle way. Bai Qi from the Bai clan is here too, thought the crowd, gazing towards some powerful energies in the distance. The energies disappeared, but suddenly, it became extremely hot, like a sun was approaching them. The Holy Sun clan is here too. Qin Shang looked at his ancient zither, not even glancing at the person who had landed. Of course, the Moon Imperial Palace is here, said the young man in the sky. In the northern part, a silhouette in grey clothes flew forwards, not releasing any chi at all. The ancient witchcraft clan is also interested in seeing the Moon Imperial Palace. The young man from the Holy Sun clan was looking at the person in the grey clothes. The person in the grey clothes nodded at him before he put his hood down, showing his face. He was very young, very pale, and looked erudite. The Heaven clan is here too, thought the crowd. Zhang Xiao was there, Lang Yi and Lin Feng were with him. Who are those people next to Zhang Xiao? They're not from the Heaven clan, thought some people. When the young man from the Chu clan saw Lang Yi, he looked surprised. A king body type traveling. Look over there. There was a young man wearing a 7-colored robe, and there were dazzling vines around him which looked like imprints. It's Dugu who never loses, said someone in the crowd. It was said that Gudu the winner possessed the imprint king body, which meant that after breaking through to the Huang Qi layer, 3,600 imprints would appear around him. Apart from them, more and more geniuses appeared, but they weren't as heroic as those people. Amongst those people, the most prestigious one was the guy from the Chu clan. Zhang Xiao, Prince Qin Shang and Bai Qi were still weaker than him. The young man from the Holy Sun clan was not from vast celestial ancient city, so nobody knew exactly how strong he was. The young man from the ancient witchcraft clan was also quite mysterious. Nobody knew Lin Feng or Lang Yi either. Lin Feng was standing next to Lang Yi, glancing around. He felt excited after seeing all those geniuses appearing. Being surrounded by so many strong cultivators was incredible, and helped Lin Feng better understand just how strong those clans really were. Beautiful women were still dancing, but one of them broke the mold. She smiled and jumped onto an ancient boat. After traversing the waves, she arrived on the shore. The beautiful woman smiled at the crowd and said, "There are many ancient groups here, but only 9 people can get on the boats, so apart from me, only 8 people can join. Who would like to join me? If only 8 people can get on the boat at a time, will it come back and forth a few times?" asked someone. The woman smiled and shook her head. "There aren't so many girls in Moon Palace, so we can't receive too many people. Sorry for the inconvenience." The crowd looked dejected. The Moon Palace was too cruel. On the first day, only 8 people could join them. There were so many people from holy clans there, so how could normal people have a chance? Holy Sun clan, Yang Yen, the young man of the Holy Sun clan, walked forwards and jumped onto the boat. Chu clan, Chu Chun Chiu, the young man of the Chu clan, jumped onto the boat. Dugu clan, Dugu the winner, the young man with the imprint body, jumped onto the boat. Ancient Witchcraft clan, call me the ancient sorcerer, said the young man from the ancient witchcraft clan. Quickly, there were already 4 people on the boat. Let's go, whispered Lang Yi. Then, Lin Feng, Lang Yi, and Zhang Xiao were above the boat. Qin Shang and Bai Qi glanced at each other. There was only one spot left. The 2 of them jumped onto the boat at the same time. They were now 10 people on the boat with the girl from the Moon Imperial Palace. Someone needs to leave the boat, said the girl as she smiled thinly. Many people were looking at Lang Yi and Lin Feng because they didn't know who they were. Many people were even angry. Those 2 strangers dared get on the boat with those outstanding individuals from the ancient clans. Yang Yan and the others looked at Lang Yi and Lin Feng. Zhang Xiao had brought those people. Heaven clan, there's someone who needs to leave, said Yang Yan to Lang Yi. Ancient World clan, Lang Yi, said Lang Yi in a calm and serene way. People frowned. That guy was also from an ancient clan. Lang Yi from the World clan. Yang Yan was surprised. Lang Yi had a king body, so nobody could argue with him. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.